Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for bearing with us. Just had to get through some details. Mr. Administrator, you all set?
All set.
Okay. Once again, thank you. Adequate notice of this February the 26th, 2015 meeting has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by posting written notice and agenda of this meeting on the bulletin board in the Municipal Building, 1000 Route 10, delivering, mailing, or faxing such notice and agenda to the following newspapers: Morris County's Daily Record, the Star Ledger, Hanover Eagle, and by filing same with the Township Clerk. Have a roll call.
Committeeman Gallagher.
Here.
Committeeman Faramasca.
Here.
Committeeman Bruno.
Here.
Committeeman Capola.
Here.
And Mayor Francioli.
Here.
5 members in attendance, sir.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, those that can, please stand and join me in a pledge allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. We have a wonderful honor tonight from the Township Committee for a presentation of our plaque to Lorraine Konopka, and in grateful recognition for over 9 years already, Lorraine? Time flies when you're having fun. I want to tell you. Lorraine is leaving Hanover Township. I know that sounds horrible, but she's going to be taking a position in Princeton. We wish you the best. We really do. I think it's going to be exciting for you down there too. She's done such wonderful things for us here in our township. Heading up all of the work that's been done with our tree ordinances and examining plans and site plans, etc., for their conformity for all the tree ordinances that we have. And she's provided a wonderful, wonderful service to us over this time. So, Lorraine, we do wish you all the best. We want to present you with a small token so you'll always remember Hanover. And this is a plaque honoring the 9 years that you've had with us for dedicated service to the citizens as our arborist and forester. And I'd like to present that to you. And who's in charge of that? John? Okay. You can do that. Yeah. Got your camera? Very good. Come on, here, you've been down at Princeton. You will like it down there.
I started actually. I'm already commuting.
Oh. Good.
Thank you, Lorraine, for all the wonderful things you've done for the community, and we wish you all the best in your responsibility. Very nice.
Keep up with Arbor Day. Don't forget Arbor Day. Gotta do Arbor Day.
What are we going to tell the kids now?
The kids want their trees.
Oh my gosh, there's this entire program for all of our schools every year. Lorraine, all the best.
Thank you very much.
All the best, truly. Okay. All right, gentlemen, at this time, I know everyone is here tonight to hear discussion on us continuing our discussion on ordinances for zone change at Whippany Road and on Park Avenue. That will take place momentarily, and I'll go over some procedures with you before we do that. But at this point, by matter of opening our meeting, we're opening to items not appearing on the agenda for anyone in the audience that would like to discuss with the Township Committee any items not appearing on the agenda. So I'm going to motion for open, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the floor is open. Again, if you'd like to make comment to us about matters not appearing on this agenda, do so from the podium, giving us your name and address for the record.
Yeah, Judy O'Reilly, Hanover Township. Excuse me, I had a quick question, and that it concerns the brickyard fields and the turf field. This is just a general question, if anybody would know the answer. If you have a turf field, would we be allowed to, for the concerts, to bring chairs and stuff like that onto a turf field?
Right.
Yes. Would we be allowed to? So that we could have the chairs on there, or tables and everything?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, the only potential concern would be the heat, because the turf does hold the heat a little more than the grass does, so we're considering that and what we might do to abate any sort of a heat issue.
Okay, but it wouldn't, no
But it wouldn't
chairs wouldn't poke
damage-
holes or anything in there?
Damage the turf,
Okay,
no.
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Were you reviewing that, Bob, with that field versus Malapartis for turf?
Well, yeah, because of the fact that the Brickyard has the lights, so we could maximize usage because there's already lights there.
That would be the advantage
That
of
would
turf
be the
there.
Right.
Otherwise, that's a new field.
Otherwise, yeah, it's not because the grass is in bad shape.
I mean,
it's
that's
just
an ideal surface.
because
Robert,
the
how you
lights-
doing?
Good.
lights are
How
all-
are you, my friend?
Robert Steiger, Quarter Place, Cedar Knolls, Mayor, members. I've been here before on this one, and it's starting to get under my skin. The boarded-up house in Cedar Knolls is an eyesore. It doesn't belong there. It makes the whole neighborhood look trashy. At the least, I wanted to paint the boards last year and somebody don't go on the property, but it looks horrible, please. 2 years ago, you said you were trying to find the owner. It would be better off if it fell down, tell you the truth.
Yeah? Done. All right, Bob, I'm trying to get some information for you. We've got many houses in this town, as you know, and I know the one you're complaining about.
Yeah.
And we've got one on Locust, and we've got one that we just took over on Route 10. And that was an involved matter of trying to acquire that through the heirs of that house on Route 10, which we're going to take down, by the way. But the one in particular that you're talking about, I'd have to get some more information. Jerry, are you familiar with, Bob, the specific address on that one?
I have no, it's right next to Long's Travel. You can't, it's where some people were
It's on
living in.
Ridgeville Avenue.
They were
Oh.
living in it for a while.
Oh.
But even, the town could go in and at least paint the boards so they look like they belong to the house. Bare plywood is ugly, it really and truly
We've been
is.
able to do amount of things on private property.
Right.
Even though the house is, quote, seems to be abandoned,
Right.
you know, it's a whole legal, I don't have to tell you, it's a whole legal matter of us going on there. And we've gone on with our Public Works Department to certain homes where we think safety is a consideration and an issue. On that basis, we can go on the property. Otherwise, we can't go on the property. We'd have to go through the courts in order to get permission to do anything. But what we can do is, Jerry, you get you know the specific address on that house?
Yeah, no,
All right.
I know which one.
Bob, we'll have the engineering department take a look at it, make a recommendation to us.
Okay.
All right, you heard it tonight?
Yep,
I said
I've
it
heard it
openly, I
before.
said it on
We'll
public.
see what happens.
All right. All right. Okay. All right, anyone else like to be heard at this time?
Evening, gentlemen. Bob O'Hare. I come to you tonight as the Assistant Chief of Emergency Medical Services for the Cedar Knolls Fire Department. And I'm here to just kind of alert you to a situation we have and ask for your help. As you may have seen in some of the flyers we have about town, we are at a critical stage of staffing for personnel for emergency services. We need more volunteers. Just to give you a quick perspective of what's happening here. In the last 10 years, as you know, the town has grown substantially. And in that same time span, our call volume has gone up tremendously. With a record year last year. The Cedar Knolls Fire Department, as a total, responded to over 1,900 calls last year. And of that, some 1,400 of it was for medical services. We do not have enough personnel to keep up the pace, so it's working against ourselves. I'm appealing to, and I didn't realize we were going to have this many people here tonight, but it's a town-wide problem. Collectively, we need more volunteers to staff these emergency services. And I understand, I am fully aware of the problems of volunteering and the challenges, and we can address that. But I think it's something you need to be aware of, that to provide these services, that we need more volunteers. Hanover Township has a long history of good volunteerism, I recognize that.
It does?
Emergency service, big commitment, we understand that. And we're doing everything we can, but it's something you should know, for us to continue to provide this service at the level we are, we're coming to a point here where it's going to impact taxpayers, because what we've been forced to do now to supply the service is we've had to bring on paid part-time per diems in order to keep at the level we're going 24/7, 365 days a year. And unfortunately, due to the way society has changed, the way the town has changed, volunteers are harder to come by. We do think that there are people in the town that have the skill and maybe the time that they can help us. We have an open house scheduled for March 3rd and another one scheduled for April 21st for anybody that wants to come and hear what's involved in that. But it's a problem that we're going to face critically in the very near future, and it's going to impact taxpayers if we don't get the volunteers. So it's just something.
George,
The type of volunteers, I don't think it's all EMS, EMTs rather, right? Can't you like drivers and other things, is there?
Times have changed. We will certainly driver, an ambulance driver, that's certainly easy, but based on how the state, we are a licensed agency currently that requires us to be able to put the ambulance on the road. We need 2 certified EMTs over the age of 18 to roll that ambulance. If a third person's a driver, frequently, most of our EMTs are drivers, so we have the ability to put an EMT driver and one with the patient on the road. Certainly we'll accept drivers and help us. That puts us 2 EMTs in the back with the driver, so more hands, many hands make light work.
who would they contact, Bob, if we had interested volunteers here? Would they reach out to CK Fire Company, what?
Yes, they would.
Okay.
And they will ultimately get directed to me.
Yourself or Chief Davidson?
Correct. Either one
Okay.
of us.
Because we're saying now that we need assistance in this area, and that we're calling for volunteers in District 3 in this particular area. There are qualifications, but if you want to know more about it, we'll try and get out a telephone numbers or go onto your website
Go onto our
to
website.
learn more
It's also-
about it.
And the open house is on the town website. The thing I would ask you, gentlemen, is you are liaisons to many committees, many organizations, many boards throughout the town. As you make your rounds to those organizations to let this message get out there, we're trying to get the message out there as much as possible. Because the sad story is, most people in Hanover Township do not know how emergency services work. They dial 911 and they expect a fire engine or an ambulance at their house.
They do.
And we and Whippany provide that service, and most people don't know what's behind the scenes involved and the dedication of these people that provide that service. And we have some very dedicated people that are going to get burned out or age out if we don't get more help soon.
It's a mixed bag, and I say this for one reason, that you and I know the amount of training, the amount of experience that these young volunteers and us volunteers have to get before going on the department and becoming either a firefighter or EMT. A lot of it is state requirements of these young people, and while it in the long run is necessary in their training, it also is an impediment because a lot of young people don't want to make the commitment to this. But I would say to our community, if you can provide us time, it's the most beneficial way to contribute to Hanover Township being a part of the department. They will provide free training. They will provide all of the support that you need when coming on the department. So if you're interested, I highly recommend the website on Cedar Knolls is www.what?
CedarKnollsFD.com.
CedarKnollsFireCompany.com?
CedarKnollsFD.com.
Okay, all right. If you would go onto that site and check it out before we get more information, find out whether or not it suits you, and we certainly would appreciate all help from volunteers on this thing. So thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Joe, if we can get something on our website, that would be good too.
It's on already.
Yeah.
It's on already.
Jim Neidhart, 3414 Appleton Way, Whippany. A couple weeks ago, I saw a notice that I think was generated by the Recreation Department announcing the concerts, and they listed 3 dates, the 13th, the 20th, and the 27th. Tonight on the consent agenda, I saw a 4th date, July 6th. I also remember July 6th being a rain date for the fireworks. And I was just wondering if you were aware of that both of those could potentially be on the same night, and I believe you used the same stage for both events. So
Yeah,
I just wanted to mention
we
that.
were aware, and that would be actually the 3rd rain date. It's a good point, Jim. But we'd move it then to either Tuesday or Wednesday. We wouldn't have a conflict. We wouldn't try to do both on the same night. It's a good point. We did consider it, and we will not have a conflict. But we are happy to announce, since you mentioned it, that we'll be having 4 concerts this year, including the B Street Band, the Bruce Springsteen Band, the Hotel California, the Eagles, since we're on the topic.
I mean,
Frank,
Bruce is actually going to be here?
Well, we're hoping. If not, it'll be somebody just like Bruce.
Bruce.
And then we're going to have the big band, and then we're going to have some more details, and the Frank Sinatra impersonator. We're not digging him up, but yes, good lineup for the concerts. Thank you for keeping us in mind, Jim.
Anyone else would like to be heard at this time? Seeing none, hearing none. Motion to close?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get rid of some business before we open, and I'm going to let the administrator do that, and then we're going to give you all the time in the world to have a discussion with us. So on
And
that
we
note,
have the
Mr.
approval-
Administrator.
Thank you. We have the approval of the Township Committee minutes of February 12th. May we have a motion for approval?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Capola, seconded by Mr. Faramaska. On roll call, Mr. Gallagher?
Aye.
Mr. Faramaska?
Aye.
Mr. Bruno?
Aye.
Mr. Capola?
Aye.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
Two items of communications, ladies and gentlemen, and these are the results of the fire district budgets for District Number 2, that's the Board of Fire Commissioners for Whippany. The amount to be raised by taxation will be $1,015,163. And there was also an election for fire commissioner. We have two new fire commissioners that will be sworn in, Randy T. Polo and Derek M. Shearer. And there were 322 votes cast in favor of the budget, and 43, including 43 absentees. 322 for Mr. Polo, and 43 absentees, and for Mr. Shearer, there was 160 votes cast. For Cedar Knolls, the amount to be raised by taxation, $1,080,761. There were two uncontested seats for Fire Commissioners Dugan and Callis, and they have not provided us at this time with the vote totals. As we continue with the agenda, we have departmental reports which are available for public inspection. They include the reports of the Township's Human Resource Specialist, the reports of the Superintendent of Public Works, Buildings, Grounds, and Park Maintenance. Our Property Maintenance Officer has submitted 2 reports on all of her activities. Township's Chief Municipal Finance Officer has submitted his summary of budget revenues. And we have the report of the Chief of Police for all activities conducted during the month of January. And finally, the report of the construction official for the months of January and February. Once again, all those reports are available for public inspection. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as you review your agenda, we have a number of ordinances for public hearing and consideration of adoption. The first is docketed as ordinance number 3-15, and if you'll bear with me for a few minutes, I have to go through some bureaucratic items for the record. We'll first note for the record that the ordinance and the notice of introduction, along with the proposed zoning map concerning this new proposed R15A zone district, appeared in full in the issue of the Daily Record on February the 5th. In accordance with the municipal land use law, the ordinance, notice of introduction, and map was filed with the Morris County Department of Planning and Public Works. We have notification that that ordinance was received. The municipal land use law also requires that because this is a zone change, that all property owners within 200 feet be served in writing, both certified mail and regular mail, and that was done on or about February the 11th, 2015. We also, again, in accordance with the state municipal land use law, the ordinance was referred to the Hanover Township Planning Board for recommendation. And the following letter has been filed in my office, and it reads as follows. It is dated February 10th. It says, Dear Mr. Giorgio, at its February 10th, 2015 meeting, the Planning Board reviewed and discussed ordinance number 3-15, which had been referred by the Township Committee as required by the Municipal Land Use Law at NJSA 40:55D-26A, which reads in pertinent part, and I quote, prior to the adoption of a development regulation, revision, or amendment thereto, the Planning Board shall make and transmit to the governing body, within 35 days after referral, a report including identification of any provisions in the proposed development regulation, revision, or amendment which are inconsistent with the master plan, and recommendations concerning these inconsistencies and any other matters as the board deems appropriate." End quote. The letter continues as follows. Ordinance number 3-15 would amend and supplement Chapter 166 of the Code of the Township by changing the zone classification of Lot 29 in Block 4701, as set forth on the tax map of the Township, from its current R15 classification to a new R15A zone, and would adopt regulations for the new R15A zone district. The Planning Board has determined that ordinance number 3-15 is partially consistent and partially inconsistent with the master plan. The land use element of the master plan recommends the existing R15 zone classification and policies for this property. Generally, this would permit the development of single-family detached homes on 15,000 square foot lots. The master plan also recommends that other uses be permitted, including but not limited to community residences and shelters, houses of worship, schools, parks, and other public uses with appropriate regulations. The master plan does not contain recommended requirements for such uses. However, ordinance number 3-15 is consistent with the master plan in that the proposed R15A zone would permit the same uses as permitted in the R15 zone and under the same standards, including single-family detached dwellings and institutional uses. Ordinance 3-15 is not consistent with the master plan, however, in that it would also permit the development of age-restricted townhouses at a higher density and with different standards than recommended for single-family development in the zone. Then they present a chart. Following is a comparison of several key standards for single-family dwellings and institutional uses, and that is retained from the existing R15 zone in Ordinance 3-15 and the proposed standards for townhouses in the R15A zone. And then they show a comparative chart, and this letter, by the way, is available for public inspection. So in the interest of time, I'm not going to go through that comparison, but I'll give you a review of what basically the Planning Board says. It says, in reviewing Ordinance 3-15, the Board offers the following comments. 1. The subject property is located at the intersection of two highly traveled roadways. As such, the creation of individual driveway openings on this street would be more disruptive of traffic flow than the coordinated access possible in townhouse development. 2. The subject property is triangular in shape. Due to the shape, a single-family subdivision with an internal street system would result in individual lots facing inward, with the rear of the dwellings and the rear yards of the lots facing Park Avenue and Whippany Road, which would provide a less attractive streetscape on these roads than possible with townhouse development with dwellings facing the street. 3, although the ordinance would allow a higher density for townhouse development, in recognition of the need for a critical mass for such development type, this is balanced by the imposition of an age-restricted occupancy requirement, which should result in less traffic, parking, and overall site activity than a non-restricted development in the same density, as well as a reduced demand for municipal services. 4, the proposed standards for townhouse development are comparable to, and in some cases more restrictive than, the existing standards for institutional uses permitted in this location. And 5, the townhouse development option in the ordinance would provide an alternative housing type which has been proven to be in high demand in the township and in the region as a whole for households that do not want the costs and burdens of owning a single-family detached dwelling on its own lot. thank you for the opportunity to comment on ordinance 3-15, signed Robert Nardone, Chairman, on behalf of the Township's Planning Board. We'll also read into the record a portion of the municipal land use law which is relevant at this time with regard to this ordinance. It is section 40:55D-63, and it's titled Notice and Protest. And it states as follows: Notice and Protest. Notice of the hearing on an amendment to the zoning ordinance proposing a change to the classification or boundaries of a zoning district, exclusive of classification or boundary changes recommended in a periodic general re-examination of the master plan by the Planning Board pursuant to Section 76 of Public Law 1975, Chapter 295, shall be given prior to adoption in accordance with the provisions of Section 2 of Public Law 1995, Chapter 249. A protest against any proposed amendment or revision of a zoning ordinance may be filed with the municipal clerk, signed by the owners of 20% or more of the area, either one, of the lots or land included in such proposed change, or two, of the lots or land extending 200 feet in all directions therefrom, inclusive of street space, whether within or without the municipality. Such amendment or revision shall not become effective following the filing of such protest except by the favorable vote of 2/3 of all the members of the governing body of the municipality, end quote. And with regard to that, and the reason that I read that into the record, is that on February 18th, I received the following from Mr. Len Ferriello, who resides at 336 Whippany Road in Whippany. And the letter states as follows: Dear Mr. Giorgio and Township Committee, more than 3/4 of the residents in the neighborhoods in 2 townships surrounding the Emmanuel Presbyterian Church, including over 30% of the landmass surrounding the R15A spot zone, do not want multifamily housing at the entrance to Hanover Township on the corner of Whippany Road and Park Avenue. Attached herewith is a protest petition with all the lot owner original signatures. Under NJSA 40:55D-63, these petitions represent more than 20% of the landmass surrounding the proposed R15A zone, inclusive of the township parkland and Whippany Road and Park Avenue. It triggers the requirement of a supermajority vote of the governing body for the adoption of ordinance number 3-15. Given the reaction of the residents from both Hanover and Morris Townships, I would respectfully urge you to defeat ordinance 3-15 on February 26th. Most residents say the corner is too highly visible for such a building use. Most would prefer single-family homes rather than multifamily buildings. Many said they would not be adverse to a church or a temple. Some thought it was an ideal location for a school or child care center, and many suggested the township acquire the church for a community center and the property for park purposes using Morris County and Hanover open space funds to buy it. I am submitting 25% signed petitions to the township clerk, including an area map calculating the land area of those who signed the protest petition. I will be away during the hearing. Thank you for your consideration. Very truly yours, Leonard Ferriello. As the business administrator township clerk, in conjunction with the township's professional planner, who could not be here this evening, we reviewed all the petitions in accordance with the municipal land use regulations, and I hereby report to the Township Committee that those petitions are validated and they do meet the requirement that if the Township Committee wishes to override the petitions, you will need 2/3 vote or a supermajority. Those petitions are available for public inspection in my office any day of the week. I thank you.
Mr. Giorgio, if I may just add also,
Yes, sir, Mr.
I
Samuel.
reviewed the petitions from a legal perspective, and we also had complaint, maybe multiple complaint regarding the solicitation of the petition, and I reviewed that as well, just within the purview of the petition, and I find that from a legal perspective, you want to always try to lend judgment to the benefit of those who are signing the petition. So from a legal perspective, I found the petition to be in order, and I also note that no one has since come forward to have their name withdrawn from the petition, if that's correct.
That is correct as of now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your round of applause. Let me introduce myself. I'm Ron Francioli. I think I'm the mayor of Hanover Township. Been sitting in this seat for 18 years, 36 of them in elected office. I'm Francioli, the mayor of Hanover Township. Unless this township committee tells me otherwise, I sit here. Mr. Ferriello is not the mayor of Hanover Township. I did not solicit the names on this petition. Mr. Ferriello did. And if he did so under the guise of being the mayor of this township.
No, he didn't. He said he was the ex-mayor.
If he did so under the guise of being mayor of this township, he is incorrect. Having said that, gentlemen, let me explain the procedure going forward at this time. We will open up the meeting as required. There's two parts to this. One was introduced earlier when we introduced by title the ordinance. The second portion gives you, the public, an opportunity to comment on the ordinance for we, the Township Committee, to hear your comments for or against, and to be able to give you explanations and answer your questions regarding this zone. So at this time, I'm going to ask the administrator to call for a motion to open.
Okay, we have a, may we have a motion at this time to open the meeting to the public? We have a motion on roll call. Mr. Gallagher?
Aye.
Mr. Ferramaska?
Aye.
Mr. Bruno?
Aye.
Mr. Capola?
Aye.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
Okay, at this time, public hearing is now in order on ordinance number 3-15.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the podium is open, and the way this would work is you can address us from the podium, give us your name and address for the record. There is a time limit. We'll set that time limit for each speaker at about 5 minutes to give everybody an opportunity to speak should they want to. So at this time, the floor is open. Anyone who would like the podium at this time, please step forward. Wow. Yeah, I will.
William Ames, 6 Cove Lane Road. Break the ice. I've been doing that around the area recently, it seems. One question that was raised there was the possibility of the township acquiring the property. Is that an open possibility?
I investigated that possibility in a phone call to Peter Mancuso of Morris Township in a discussion that we had, since this property is on both our borders, for a park-like setting or to acquire it for open space. And while we explored it, we found that the economics of this property and the size of this property made it a prohibitive thing. We did not think it qualifies under the county's open space program. Would they be interested in it? Secondly, the value of this property is quite high, and both between acquisition and improvements on the property, such as removing the church, et cetera, and setting it into a park-like setting, could be certainly in excess of anywhere between $6 to $7 million in the overall.
And is there any way to say what percentage of, say, an annual budget that would represent of the township?
A percentage of
of what an annual budget for the township is? I mean, just ballpark.
Oh, of what we have?
About a
25?
a quarter of the annual budget of the town, which is about $24 million,
So
$6 million represents.
So clearly substantial, yeah. The planning board letter indicated that they thought that the density of townhouses, the population, I guess, density would be, did I hear them say less than single-family homes? Is that what I heard the letter say?
Joe, do you have that phrase?
We're finding the exact comment, Bill.
Although the ordinance would allow a higher density for townhouse development in recognition of the need for a critical mass for such development type, this is balanced by the imposition of an age-restricted occupancy requirement, which should result in less traffic, parking, and overall site activity than a non-restricted development at the same density, as well as a reduced demand for municipal services.
And the age requirement set was 55?
55 years and older.
Okay. So does that include any restriction on children, or?
It in fact does. It provides for visitations from grandchildren or children of such, but it does not allow for those children to reside on the property.
Okay, so school impact would be non-existent.
Right. It would be a deed restriction, so that would stay with the property as long as the property existed, as long as the units existed.
Okay. Is there, I'm sensitive to the questions that relate to land use. My father was a planning board attorney for 30 years, so I've been well versed in various, sensitivities, I guess. But was there any indication that can be commented upon to alternative use of the property by the other interested party, or do we not know, or can we not say?
No, the only thing the governing body can really look at is what's appropriate zoning going forward. I mean, so you really don't look at those type
You don't
of
look at alternatives,
Yeah,
okay,
you
you
look
have
at
to look
what's
at what you
best
have.
aesthetically and what's consistent for the township going forward.
Okay, all right. And in the plan that they drew, the access way, I was not able to review the plan, but are the access points to Park Avenue and Whippany Road, or to the internal roads adjacent, or?
The accesses, although that would be a site plan design to be shown, it still was a concept, would have access from both Park Avenues and Whippany Roads onto the site.
But not multiple accesses? I mean, it would be maybe
Conceivably, it could.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm in a very odd position. Typically, I am against high-density development. I'm familiar with that particular parcel and some of the adjacent parcels. I'm a heavy user of Monroe Hall, so I'm familiar with the area there. But I must say that I'm leaning more toward the proposed zoning change than not.
Thank you,
at this
Bill.
stage.
Thank you.
For those in the back, there are 5 or 6 seats up front. If you're comfortable standing, by all means, go ahead and stand, but just want to let you know there are some seats up front here if you'd rather sit.
Robert Steiger, Quarter Place, Cedar Knolls. I read in the paper that Mr. Forgione is listed as the developer.
He is one of the interested parties in the purchasing.
Right. I looked it up in Webster's, and it said developer something. The last few projects that he has gotten approvals for, has he actually built them? Is he actually the construction man at the meatpacking plant?
I think he's in concert with another construction firm, but I can't honestly answer that for him, Bob. I don't know.
Because I don't believe that he is, if you want to
It
know.
may be the case. I mean,
Yeah.
the approvals went through his
Right.
corporation.
Well, it's
so-
like the Grand across the street, which he got approval for 150. He didn't build any of those. He seems to procure his approvals and then hands them off to other developers. And yet he sits at the planning board and explains what's going to be done. And yet another developer who the planning board has never seen or ever talked to winds up doing the projects. So I just think it's difficult for the residents to understand exactly where Joe stands in all of this, if you want to know the truth. And rather than, since Mr. Bill Ames is going to say that he's in favor of it, I am totally opposed to it, believe me. Totally opposed to the multifamily housing. Thank you.
Okay. Let me comment at this time. The floor is still open, by the way. But in fairness to the public at large here, for the last several weeks, the Township Committee has been locked in discussions with itself on with regards to this particular proposal. We want, as a unit, the best for the area. We want the best for the residents of the area. We want the best for you and your property values going forward. And we've had many different proposals before us that we have looked at, proposals that we offered up before us to take a look at, not the least of which was for the open space use of this as parkland, as I said, and trying to go into a shared service agreement with our sister community. And the economics do play a role in it, particularly when our open space fund is somewhere just under $1 million now. We looked at this for senior housing and 6 acres of land for senior housing. When the planning board reviewed it, they took into consideration the density that would be involved here for senior housing. And secondly, when looking at it, we would have to work in cooperation with a builder who was willing to undertake senior housing at affordable pricing. I will tell you that the Township's Committee's sense of subsidized housing, which takes money either from federal, state, or county, is not one that we generally favor. It comes with a lot of attachments to it. So when we considered doing senior housing on this land, the first thing we considered was the physical ability to put the housing on there. We have better sites in Hanover Township for senior housing. We have sites that have been sanctioned by court settlements with upwards of 140 units, and we're still embroiled in some court issues of trying to get those done. Having said that, I come back to the fact that we did look at this area very closely for senior housing. It is not suitable for senior housing. We looked at it for its present zone as an R15. There are no immediate interests of particular builders, buyers to come forward and build R15 single-family homes. The property we do know is up for sale by the church right now, and there are 2 active participants privately looking at this. One, institutional use, religious institutional use, the other being for a age-restricted housing proposal, the one that we're talking about right now. The Township Committee deliberated hard and long up until hours ago, I might add, and I think that the results of those deliberations are that we'd like to go forward and explore a zone for this particular area that we've employed with some degree of success elsewhere, and that is the R10A zone. That would provide for single-family homes. That would provide for single-family homes on a smaller than R10 lot, smaller than an R15 lot, I might add, and would provide for possibly up to 23 to 25 single-family homes on this property on a condominium-type land. This has been a discussion of the Township Committee, and it's my sense of them, having polled each one of the Township Committeemen, that it is something that they'd like to move forward on. So if that helps to move this meeting along, and we want to now focus, our floor is still open, and if you'd like to comment on that, we're more than happy to hear it. Giving us once again your name and address for the record.
Hi. Mary Salka Connor. I live at 5 Dock Terrace in Whippany. I just have one question. As I remember, when the Grand was being constructed, we were all told that it was a 55 and older community. Then all of a sudden, I started seeing, little tricycles there and bikes and all, and then I was told it had been changed, the zoning had been changed, and now they were accepting children. Am I right or wrong regarding this, Mayor Franciola?
This particular piece of property or the Grand are you talking about?
The Grand. Was it at first put into the minutes that it would be a 55 and older community when it was being constructed? No, it was not? Okay. Okay, because I'm concerned.
I can't, Mary, I can't comment on,
Okay,
I
then
don't
I
have
was-
the facts in front of me on the
Mayor?
Grand.
No, then I-
Was that
The
a-
engineer said that his recollection was at first that was going to be a rental site, and then it changed to for sale. But it had no time been presented
As 55?
as a 55-year-old.
That's correct.
Yeah,
And that's my recollection.
Ron, that's correct.
yeah.
That's correct.
Is there any way, though, that it could then come in as a 55 and older, and if the units do not sell, then be changed to multi-units that are no age restriction?
You're still speaking of the Grand.
No, this would be the new property.
Oh, the property with the ordinance
Exactly.
that we're discussing right now. If it's deed restricted, it would remain that way in perpetuity. Even if it was, if it's sold out to individuals, it remains that way, period. And each individual that resells again, that stays with the deed, so it remains that way, 55, age restricted.
Okay, okay. And I'm going to say my feelings on this is that I'm totally against it. I think that we're changing the look of our town totally. We have enough multi-living units within our township. We're not Parsippany, we're not huge. We are a smaller town. And everywhere you turn, you see bigger buildings, multi-units, and I feel like we should try to keep our town a little bit as it was, as the little town that everybody wanted to live in and stay here. I've lived here my whole life. Both my daughters have purchased homes within the township because they feel that they want to stay here. So I just am hoping that you all consider this, that we try to keep it as the town that everybody has loved so much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It's an important point, and we understand it, and we understand the character of our Hanover Township, and all of that, I can't tell you, has been ignored. It's been taken, even though it may appear that way, we've taken all of that into consideration in the direction of the town that we want to see it go in. We also take into consideration some of the changes that are happening in our town on a corporate strata, with Bayer coming in, MetLife coming in, et cetera. And we know that our housing stock is very, very low, I'll put it that way, in inventory of housing stock. But again, that's not a factor that would say to us that we've got to do high-density units all the time. That's not a factor for consideration. What is a factor for consideration on this particular property is the uniqueness of the 6 acres and the fact that we thought that feel that with age-restricted housing, we would have less impact to our school systems. Residential housing, there is no doubt about it, even consideration of the ones that we're talking about now, can bring upwards of 20 to 25 school children into the system. We've had some issues on the Township Committee with that in the past, and we certainly couldn't ignore that either. Madam.
Good evening. Jennifer Regal Boyd, 54 Regina Place. And I'm one of the residents. I live a block away from this intersection. Find it a little appalling or offensive that no one came to talk to me, even though I'm not within the 200 feet, I guess, technically. But I'm one of the first private streets. People of Whippany Ave and Whippany Road and Park Ave, they don't have parking on their streets. Depending on what moves in there, guess what? In front of my house, and my house will be affected either every day or on the weekends. And when me and my husband chose to move in this town 10 years ago, chose to raise our family here, we bought purposely on a nice, quiet little street. We did not want a street that is going to become all of a sudden a parking lot, which unfortunately, I have a fear that it may become. And, you know, I just implore you that there are people in that neighborhood that were not talked to, were not part of the petition, and that do feel strongly that, you know, the townhouses could be a benefit. It could be, you know, it could be beneficial. My understanding is that there is nothing there. There's none of the potential buyers are looking to build single-family houses, unfortunately. That would be, if that was a potential buyer, that would be great. Unfortunately, that's not. And, you know, I'm gonna have a practicality. Every day, it's gonna affect my life, or at least every weekend. And that is not something I'm looking forward to at all. And I just want to make sure I voice my opinion, since apparently I couldn't be talked to during petitions. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, Mayor. My name's Matt Sleeper, live on 39 Perry Street, Whippany. That's my neighbor around the corner. Let me tell you, 15 years ago, we bought in here, and it was, you know, the traffic wasn't bad. Let me tell you how hard it is to get onto Whippany Road in the mornings from Mount Vernon or Park Avenue, from Perry Street or Regina. It's getting worse and worse. Now, you put in more units on that corner, there's going to be more traffic in the morning, no matter how you look at it. We've got about 10 kids on Perry Street. It's frequently used as a cut-through by commuters all the time, all summer long, all year long. They're out in the street, they come barreling down the road, and there's no safety provisions whatsoever. There's no policing of it. And we've been seeing this for 15 years. And what you're proposing is going to make that worse. And I also am not in favor of more multi-unit dwellings in town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'm Judy Iradi in Hanover Township. Since it seems like most of the residents surrounding that site are in the audience tonight, why don't you explain to us what this zone might be, this R15A, which is single-family houses, but they're clustered more together than an R15 or an R10. Why don't you tell us the pros and cons of that zoning change versus a townhouse zoning change?
The zone change that we're discussing is one that we've had experience with most recently. Must admit, I'm not too enamored with the outcome of that, but we're still working on some issues. But that zone change, the best way to explain it to the community is if you're familiar with the Windermere properties in town, off of Jefferson Road, and those are cluster zoned in what's known as a similar R10A zoning with it would be the same size lots as is proposed on the treatment plant, the meat packing plant, the old meat packing plant, slaughterhouse, the old slaughterhouse. Same zoning that's going on in the slaughterhouse, and the same type of zoning is the zoning that's being discussed for this particular corner.
So, so now that you have the residents here, and you probably hear from them, so if this townhouse ordinance is defeated, then you would consider this type of a housing for that site, and you have probably a builder that would be willing to buy that site and do that type of a housing?
The R housing?
Yes.
Yes.
So, there negotiation room for the homes not to be as intense as they are on Avenue, on North Jefferson Road near Nye Avenue, because they're kind of pretty close together. What do you think the maximum amount of single-family clustered homes on that site would be?
I would put the number of homes that it could support under that zoning.
Yes.
I would guesstimate anywhere between 25 and 23 units, something in that area.
So that would be the high-end 25 single-family houses or 23 single-family houses on that site.
That's
probably
right.
An internal roadway, have 25 roadways going out to the street.
If it's considered yet to be designed, yeah.
And the trade-off houses versus the single-family homes is townhouses, well, single-family homes would not be age-restricted, so they would generate children. But then on the pro side of that, you do preserve the character of the township.
Correct.
Single-family homes. On the flip side, the townhouses are age-restricted, and it wouldn't bring in children. But you would see something when you come into town that is not very in my opinion, desirable to see, and just would not, in my opinion, as being a single-family residential area. So if this is defeated, the next proposal that might come up is a zone that would allow for these, am I correct, these single-family homes, maybe up to 23 or less to be built there?
Proposal would allow, this proposal, and that's underscore proposal.
Right.
Would allow for single-family homes on condominium property. In other words, the homes themselves would be individually owned by, as market homes by individuals that bought them. The properties under them would be controlled by a condominium ownership and a condominium plan. That's the way that would be managed, because of the density of their homes.
Kind of like a gated community, there'd be room for you to say, set them back from Whippany Road and set them back from Park Avenue, so you would have a nice, aesthetic view on the road. I mean, they wouldn't be right on top of the road.
I'm trying to work on the visual concept with you, but you're way ahead of me.
But there would be enough room to fit the...
I think the process would be that if the Township Committee decided that this in fact was something acceptable, then it would have to go to planning for the standards and the zoning, the landscaping, the setbacks, et cetera. But the setbacks would be consistent with what is now the R10A zone, the R10A zone.
And now, is that R10A zone that's under construction right now, excuse me, are those property sizes similar, smaller than what you have at Windermere, which is across the street?
My recommendation, if we go forward, is that the bulk standards be reviewed and, take from the experiences that we've had in this zone and limit the number of bedrooms, limit the number of bathrooms, and some other standards so that we could control the size of the house.
Well, okay, so then maybe some of the residents can chime in here, because it would be a waste of time to go forward with another and have the same 20%, sign a petition against that ordinance also.
If this particular plan was not acceptable, are you recommending what,
Well, the single-family homes, of course.
Yeah.
I'm totally against the multifamily townhouses, age restricted or not. It's just not a good thing for appearance for the town. So then, does that mean that the residents would rather see single-family homes, even if there are more on that property and clustered? No. Thank you.
Well, I think,
thank you. Well, maybe they could tell you.
What you're saying is that from a planning perspective, one of the things the governing body is considering is a different ordinance that would have, as the mayor said, 23 to 25 single-family homes with generally no more than 4 bedrooms, versus the ordinance that's presently in front of you this evening, which is the 33 senior townhomes, as they mentioned. That's the two, so to speak, policies or plans that are before the governing body from a standpoint, from a planning perspective. So I think, that seems to be, in summary, what the mayor said earlier was that the governing body is, at this point, more favorably considering a new ordinance from a planning perspective that would be in line with the R10A, which is single-family detached, single-family homes. That would be approximately four bedrooms in size, and that would range from 23 to 25 single-family homes on this property. The governing body,
that pretty much sums it up.
after all of the discussions and input from residents, believes that to be more consistent with the spirit of planning and the input that they receive from the members of the public.
I'm sorry, go right ahead.
It's George Opar. I live at 34 Warren Street. I know you and I both have gray hair, but there is something I would like some clarification on. One of the things mentioned earlier, I believe, was that access, driveway access, to either Park Avenue or Whippany Road would be difficult given the proposed single-family dwellings that we're talking about tonight. How many more driveways would 23 to 25 houses put on Park Avenue and Whippany Road? You also mentioned that putting single-family houses on that triangular plot of land would necessarily put the house on Park Avenue or Whippany Road. It seems to me that if you go to 10A, you're going to be looking at a lot more butts. One other thing that the gentleman from Perry mentioned was cut-throughs. I live on Whippany Road, on Warren Street. Our house is the last house on Warren Street, near the dead end. It's where Warren Street and Mount Vernon Way meet. Most cars that come up Mount Vernon to make that left-hand turn onto Warren Street nearly hit George Russ's curb. Someone is going to be killed there someday. It's happened to me, it's happened to my wife, and it's happened to my son. Nobody slows down for that turn. What are we going to do about that? So it seems to me that we're in a bad situation at R15A, and an even worse one with R10A. We've got to restrict the size and bedrooms and bathrooms in the houses. It's cluster housing. The only thing is that they're not attached. I presume the town has a budget for improving their schools. How many children would come out of the single-family dwellings if...
The prison zone?
With the 17 houses. And how many more would come out of the 10A? I mean, you know, some families, excuse the expression, but there are some families that behave like rabbits.
I'm sorry.
And use bunk beds.
I can give you an answer based upon formula, and I
Fine.
can give you an answer based upon experience that we've had in other high-density zones of what the yield is, if that's the nature
Fine,
of the
that will
question.
help. That will help.
Yeah. Well, I would say on average that any one of the home units that has 4 bedrooms at least is going to generate 1.2 children. I don't know where the 0.2 comes from, but 1.2 children. So statistically, if we're saying some 15 or 16 homes in the prison zone, if a developer wanted to buy that property and develop the single-family homes the way it is, we'd just do the math and presume that you're going to get somewhere in the neighborhood of 20-plus children. The R10A, I can only say that that formula might equate to 25 to 30 children into the school system.
Can Salem Drive handle that?
Am I pleased with that? I can only tell you that we've had pressure on us over the years to keep our school system stable the way it is. We've got an influx of children from last year, and our parents are not terribly pleased with any increases in class sizes. So, but we do know that children come in and children do graduate. So, and we've been on the downward trend in student population. So, we're taking that into consideration as well.
Can Salem Drive handle it? Can Salem Drive handle the population?
I think, Tom, can you?
You know what, if I may,
Tom's on our school liaison.
right now, the K through 8, with their projections, is 21 less than last year.
Not after these are built.
Excuse me?
Not after these are built.
Well, what's interesting too is the breakdown where we have up to 24. I'm the biggest guy that talks about classroom size and the fact that it's a board policy, but as a committee, we talk all the time about what that is and where we currently are. And it's interesting because you hear the current trend is going down, and then 2 years later it's going up. We're pretty consistent. We can absolutely take 30 or 40 kids, to be honest with you, depending on what school they're going to go to. Like Memorial Junior School has a lot more room than Salem Drive does. Salem has a lot more room than Mount View Road does. And B Meadow, believe it or not, has the most room. Last I saw it was they had the capability of taking 88 more kids right in B Meadow School. So you're concerned about the schools is our concern, and it's my concern, because I was on the Board of Ed for 5 years. I'm still a liaison to the K through 8, and I have a daughter in Salem Drive. That's something that we took into consideration. And, you know, if it was many, many more houses, or when you refer to units, if it was many, many units, it wouldn't have come this far, because it would have had too big of an impact on the school. And we have studies, we do have people in the schools, including me, that has all of those numbers. I share it with the committee. And I'm comfortable with if what moves forward, what we're proposing, it'll look very nice. It will have young families coming here. That's what attracted me to this town, is nice single-family houses, good school systems. And they'll make this their home like I made it my home. But to answer your question, Salem Drive can absolutely, especially this year and going into next year, take on more children. And the classroom sizes average 17 to 19.
One last question. When is it expected that if these single-family homes are built, when will they be finished?
When would a project of this nature get underway?
Or finished? Underway and finished? Underway?
Well, I can only speak from the township standpoint, in that it's a whole approval system of coming before the planning board and getting their plans approved, and then finally getting permits to start their construction. I could conceivably, possibly say it could be a year away, something in that area.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Once again, that makes the assumption this is approved. I want to make that very clear. These are all points of discussion.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Joe?
Joe Sancelli, 65 Mount Pleasant Avenue. I don't really have a dog in this fight, but after listening to the planning board's recommendations, I just have a couple of questions. I haven't seen a rendition of what I believe 33 units for age restricted. Is that correct?
The proposal before, the ordinance before calls for some 33
Yeah,
units.
I would think that with, as opposed to the 25 houses, I would guarantee that you would just see nothing but backyards coming up Park Avenue. I would think the 33 age-restricted homes would probably be set back, probably like an L-shaped. I haven't seen any kind of a rendition what it would look like. You know, if you put good landscaping, you know, down Whippany Road and down Park Avenue, it might not be that unattractive. So I kind of in favor of this zone change for that, you know, for the age-restricted homes, which I might wind up in. I've been here 64 years, so. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the important point was just made. And 55 and older, I mean, we talk about wanting to do more in senior housing. And by the way, the Township Committee's budget this year appropriated some $10,000?
Yes.
I think toward that. $10,000 toward a study that we're going to undertake in zoning to locate what we feel are properties that are suitable for senior citizen housing, which take into consideration transportation, proximity to shopping, et cetera, walking distances, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll be undertaking that. But my point here is that 55 and older doesn't preclude my senior citizens, from buying in these homes and living there ourselves. These are market homes, and some of us who want to sell our homes and get into an environment where there's less responsibility to the property and taking care of things might be interested in that kind of housing. But that, again, is not the discussion before the Township Committee as of now. As of now, the focus is now on the possibility of the R10A zoning. So just to explain that. I'm sorry, sir, I took your time.
Yes,
Go
my
ahead.
name is Dan Winkler. I live at 40 Perry Street.
Could
What was that?
you step up to the microphone?
sir.
There you go.
My name is Dan Winkler, 40 Perry Street. First, I want to applaud the board as far as a rateable, as far as shop rate, Bayer.
Shout right into that microphone.
I'm sorry.
You're a big guy and your voice has got to come a long way. Go
Well,
ahead.
I feel a little restricted, like a townhome or condo. So, I just want to say that as growing up in this town, 43 by the way, in 12 more years I'll be 55. I just need to be educated on the Woodmont property, and I'm going to get to my whole spiel. 55-year and older. The other day I rode by, and it says luxury apartments. Is that open to the public now? Because from my understanding, it was 55-year and older, and now supposedly it's open to everybody. Is that the case?
50, if your question is 55, I'm sorry.
No,
50
Woodmont specifically, he's asking about the Woodmont development.
Cedar Knolls
It's not
Cedar
55 and
Knolls
older, it's not age restricted.
It's not
It's not age restricted. Those are rentals.
Can I have a piece of paper?
It was 55 and they changed it to everybody.
This is where I have an issue. I called a good friend of mine, and again, I'm like a fireman dressing, it's like the 9th hour. I don't know what too much is going on. But I had one question. I called Steve Furta, Board of Ed. I asked a simple question. I watched the construction go on Horse Hill Road in the Saddlebrook. So I asked a simple question. I said, did this project have any impact on our school systems? He looked at me with a blank look. This is what he wrote me. This is facts. If you'd like a copy, I actually went to Staples tonight and made copies. In 2014 budget, school budget, an additional $500,000 to $600,000 is what they needed. In 2014, 2015, again, this is what they needed, $600,000. In the 2015-2016 proposed budget, again, another $600,000. I don't know if you know. They had to hire additional teachers, additional counselors. They had to add additional classes. This is for right now. I intend to stay or live at 40 Perry, God willing, as long as possible. My kids went through Salem Drive. I worry about the kids and the next upcoming families coming through the ranks. I am 100% completely against any condo, townhome, luxury apartment, I don't care what you call it. It's ridiculous. And again, it's only my opinion. But I do want to applaud you as far as the shop rate, Bayer, MetLife, a true rateable for our town. To me, this is a waste of time. As far as being a church, we've all been married in churches. My feeling is to stay just the way it is. And I'm not going to get all Jimmy Swaggart on you. But actually, I was standing right over in this exact spot, and something just hit me in the head. On the back of a dollar bill It says, "In God we trust." Do we really? Do we really?
Are you going somewhere, sir?
Yeah, I'm just completely 100%. The
come on.
church, I would like to keep the church the way it is. That's in my
You'd
opinion.
like the church what it is?
Correct. As, you know, don't be afraid of a big bad mosque or, you know, this talk of this big fear of another church coming in. I believe to stay the way it is. I do not wish to see any more townhomes, condos or apartments. And that's my feeling. I just want to ask a simple question. Out of you, who voted to increase our townhome luxury apartments or this project that we're specifically talking about? I wasn't at the last meeting.
Who voted to increase our...
No, who voted for this restricted home?
This particular
Yes,
ordinance?
yes.
3 of us did, sir, a majority here.
And in which of those? I
Are
don't
you
know
asking
who.
about the single-family home or about the senior?
The senior. Actually,
The senior was an ordinance that was introduced to have this hearing. So even if you vote to introduce it, it doesn't mean you have to vote for final adoption. So for introduction, there were 3 members who voted for the ordinance to be heard tonight and a final hearing, but those 3 members could vote against the ordinance this evening. as
okay,
well. Yeah.
not to interrupt you. My last thing is, just the only thing I have a major problem on is the 55-year and older on Whippany Road and Park Avenue eventually turn into open to the public. That's where I have an issue, if that happens. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
And I actually,
Can I just address one thing with the school real quick?
I have no idea. Sure.
Can I just address one thing with the school real quick?
Just
real quick. Hey, Jim, before you start, I just want to address something that Danny said. When it comes to the school budget increasing, it's usually salaries and wages and all your staff. And Jim, you were on the Board of Ed for a very long time. Between salaries and wages, and then today, a lot of the kids too, with IEPs and a lot of the special services they get that we didn't get when we were little. So in the school budget, the budget doesn't necessarily reflect the enrollment. It has to do with the services and the increase in the salaries, wages, and of course, health insurance. I just wanted to touch on that.
Yeah, approximately 85% of
Ladies
the
and
school
gentlemen,
budget
could you all just quiet down and just pay attention to the speaker and the one at the podium? Thank you. Good.
Jim Neidhart, 3414 Appleton Way, Whippany, New Jersey. Like a lot of the residents here, I moved into town for many of the same reasons they did. I moved in 32 years ago and raised a family here, and it's been a great town. And I think the challenges that the planning board and the committee have are daunting, because very often you have choices which aren't ideal, and you have to choose the lesser of the 2 evils or 3 evils. Of those 32 years, I lived in a ranch house off of Bee Meadow Parkway for 25 years in an R15 zone, single family unattached. I know exactly what that's like. I know the beauty of that. It's fantastic. And for the last 7 years, I lived in a condo development here in town. So unlike a lot of people, I have both, and I can compare both. Which one's better? I think it depends on your situation. I do know that somewhere close to 1/3 of this town is senior citizens, and there is a tremendous need for senior citizen housing going forward. There is a lack of demand for single-family unattached, and developers just aren't making proposals for that because they can't make any money on it because the demand isn't there. So that presents a challenge for a community like ours that would like to keep the town primarily single-family unattached houses. So I empathize with the challenges that you gentlemen have to deal with. If I could wave a magic wand, I would like that property to stay just what it's been for the last 10 years. It's great. It's like having a park, except we don't have to maintain it, somebody else maintains it, And
We've all
and
had
Monroe
We've all
Center,
had the luxury of properties that stand open, like our Whippany paperboard property, et cetera.
I mean, you can't get any
I
better.
fear the day that somebody's gonna come forward and wanna buy the
right,
darn
they
thing.
take care of the grass, they snow the lots so that we can park there when we go to Monroe Hall. It's great. But I don't have a magic wand, and I can't do that. That's just not an option. The other thing that would be really nice if developers came in and wanted to put up traditional unattached single-family houses to conform to R15. That doesn't look like that's an option on the table. Coming into this meeting tonight, I only saw two options, which you have to vote on. You have to make a choice. Yes, you can't consider the other option, but it's going to go one way or the other. You've came up with a third option, which is nice. Trying to look at it objectively. I live on the other side of town, so I'm not right on top of it like a lot of the folks here, but I'm trying to look at it objectively as if I live there. And my understanding right now is in town we have, correct me if I'm wrong, 11 or 12 houses of worship. Very few of those houses of worship are thriving. Even the best are struggling financially. The number of people that attend services, houses of worship, are dramatically decreasing, and each year it gets lower and lower. There are a couple that are thriving fairly well, but they still have their financial challenges. There's a number of churches and other houses of worship that are struggling to stay. This one was one of the first to go. There could be more. The type of houses of worship that would buy a piece of property and invest in it and build it in this day and age has to operate like a business. They don't operate, if they're going to be successful, they don't operate in terms of some of the houses of worship that we're traditionally used to. To spend $4 million plus to invest in a property, you got to pay for that somehow. And you either have to have a massive congregation or you have to have activities there 7 days a week, day and night, that generate funds. And some of the people that live close to the Ukrainian church have experienced just a tidbit of that because they built a cultural center and a church. It's very nice. It's beautiful. I've been in there. My girlfriend's Ukrainian. We've been at some of those events that go out to all hours of the night. It's a lot of fun, but it's hell for the neighbors that live around it. So looking at the alternative type of operation that could be there, a church or a worship center, a temple, mosque, whatever that could survive, has to really operate like a business, more along the direction that the Ukrainian church is going. And that is going to generate a lot of traffic, both day and night. Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights are key time to make a lot of money. I don't know that that's going to happen, but I think that that's something that, the residents that live there, I know townhouses, condos, oh my God, you just mentioned it's the worst thing in the world. I understand that. When I lived in the R15, I didn't want them near me either, so I fully appreciate that. But you have to be careful what you wish for when you only have a couple of limited alternatives. And if the traffic is really bad getting in and out of a development, of that facility, right now, could you imagine when you have hundreds of people attending events at a time? It's not going to be like St. John's. They're going to have hundreds of people there at a time. And they're going to be coming in. You're going to have hundreds coming out during very short periods of time. So I'm not saying for or against it. I'm just saying you have to keep that in mind, and you have to have a little bit of understanding of what the Township Committee is going through when they make a decision like this. Again, the 3-15 that was originally on the table for consideration tonight, limited to 33 units. I live in Eden Lane. I live in a building that has 6 units. And I looked at my building, the building next to me on the one side, and the other building. And almost 2/3 of those units, and this is not age restricted, were occupied by one person. And the others were 2. So I think even in a non-age restricted townhouse environment, the average head count per unit is 1.3 or less. In a senior citizen age restricted, it can't be more than 1.3 per unit. So even if the proposal R315 was approved, you're talking about 33 units times 1.3 heads per household at the high end. That's 43 people in a 6-acre lot. If you took a traditional 6 acres in the R15, now keep that 43 number in your head. If you took a traditional 6-acre rectangular area in an R15, you fit approximately 3 units on an acre. So, because it's 100 by 150, approximately, 15,000 square feet. The average head count in zip code 07981, the Whippany zip code, according to I went to 3 different demographic sites today, the average head count in the zip code is 2.6. And when you look at the 1,000 or so units that are condo townhouse, that means the typical R15 is upwards of 3 heads per household. So if you took the 18 units that you'd normally fit on an R15 lot, that's 54 people. So if you were to approve, and I'm not recommending it, I'm just saying if you did approve the ordinance that's on the thing for consideration tonight, you'd get approximately 43 people there versus a traditional R15 setup, which would be 54 people. So when we talk about density, we immediately think units. But when you're thinking of the services that the town has to provide or the amount of traffic that's going to come out of driveways, you got to really look at head count. And you actually get a decrease in density of head count in a condo setup. Now, with that all being said, and being on the other side of town, I still don't think that particular corner is a great place for high-density housing. So I'm just saying that there's a lot of things that have to be considered, and you know, as residents, you may have a strong opinion on something, clouded by your own opinion, but you just got to look at what the real alternatives are. You got a temple with a lot of traffic that has to make a lot of money in order to stay in business, lots of traffic. You have senior citizen housing, where you're going to have a small amount, or you got the new A10, which is going to be more people and more children. So it's not an easy consideration. I just wanted to bring up some of the considerations for people to think about.
You covered it well, Jim. Very good. Sir.
Jim Farr, 2 Mount Vernon Way, Whippany, section of Hanover Township.
Ah, thank you.
I adopted Joe Mahalik. My household, my wife and I myself are against the, what we call them, townhomes. We're not against housing, and we're not against the church. We're not against maybe that church there now being used as an annex for the township if there's being crowded. That could be a possible use for it, plus a playground for the youngsters of the area. I question a little bit of the necessity in respect to the 10A to say that they have to be like 23 houses. It could be something less than that, I'm assuming. Because otherwise, the 23 housing says to me right away, we're maximizing the rateables to get on that piece of property. And in addition to how, let's say, we go back to the alternative on the R15, where it was going to be maybe 14 or 16 houses. People were concerned with the cutouts, which is better known as driveways on Whippany Road. As I explained to the developer's representative the other day, there's a way of doing that where there are no cutouts on the Park Avenue and Whippany Road. If somebody's interested in learning about something like that and where it is in the countryside, call me. 973-887-7925. I'll be more than happy to talk to you about it. It solved the problem for somebody who had the same type of situation, houses on a main road, where am I going to park cars, etc. So therefore, again, we're against the townhouse or condo, however we want to say it. We're not against housing. But I might be against if you're going to really pack them in there. What are we going to really look like? If we go down to 20 or 19, that might be more pleasing. As I know, if people have visited us since I live on the corner there, they love driving down the road, excuse me, and seeing the church with the green lawn. There have been many a remark passed in that regard, because most people say, well, the only thing municipalities are interested in is pack housing in wherever you can pack it. Okay, but that's all I wanted to say. Oh, and the impact of the school system, we have to assume the worst case. However, what it usually turns out to be, from my understanding, is a portion of the children, kids, young teenagers, will go to the township schools. There'll be another portion, whatever size that is, will go maybe to the Catholic schools. And the other portion will go to the private schools. So you could have 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, or some other percentage. Who knows? You don't know. I know it's fair to say this is going to be maximized. We're going to have 30 kids in Salem Drive. Well, I know from what I can see, depending on the price of the house, you won't have 30 kids going to Salem Drive. They're going to go to Morristown Beard, Seton Hall, Pingree, St. Elizabeth's, and I don't want to go down and miss any of the schools down the list. Or they're going to go to Morris Catholic up in Denville and places like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. They're getting an education. And so again, we're against the townhome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other speakers?
Barbara Ames, I live on Cove Lane, so I'm kind of in the neighborhood, but, you know, not real close. Just a question, is there a deadline of some sort that the committee feels that they need to meet? Is it tonight? Could it be put off? Do you have to make a decision tonight? Or what's the timeline here?
I think the Township Committee is just going to move it along at its normal pace. We don't have a specific timeline on this. We're only examining it on the basis of inquiries that have come from the developers who drove this forward. In other words, that's why we're here now. You know, were it not for that, the property would have remained R15 in perpetuity until someone else came up with some other thinking that made us focus on it and then bring it to planning board for consideration. So I can't give you a defined timeline. I think you're just going to move it along as reasonably expeditiously as we possibly could. Does it warrant more time or discussion? Then we would provide that.
Okay, so this is an opportunity for the public to talk about potential zoning.
This is precisely what this meeting is all about. This is that portion of an ordinance meeting where the public is invited to comment.
Okay, so there, you know, I came here kind of thinking that this was, you're going to make a decision tonight, and we had to have that discussion here. So it has been my understanding that there were two plans coming in here. One for, there were two pods. One was a temple, and one was this Forgione who wanted to do development. Now, I think there's a consensus here among many people that we want less rather than more density. But I had understood that that was not agreeable to the developer, and that's why you were considering the condos, because that was something that, you know, I guess, obviously you make more money off that. If you're a developer, you want to get as much money out of a piece of property as you can. So that was what drove that more than your desire for that property. So now we're talking about something lesser. So I'm asking, is this new R10 zoning that would allow for more homes, 23 to 25, and how many ever children come out of there, is that something that the committee has a sense would be acceptable to the developer? Or is this just something that is more you're more comfortable with and you're hoping he would accept? But what if he says no?
If he says no, the zone remains as is R15, or the determination for the zone is by a second interested party, be it the institution, religious institution or not. We cannot, by the way, it should be known that churches are allowed in any zone.
Right.
And so there are no prohibitive uses where churches are concerned in these zones. So having said that, the only two interested parties that brought to our attention are a residential developer, A, and B, a religious institution, C. It's not ours to say who makes the final purchase of the property.
Right. If in the process going forward, say next week, somebody comes forward and says, I want to build R15, third-acre lots there, then are you at a point where you could still, the church has to sell. They have to accept an offer. And to my understanding, the offer is contingent upon the rezoning, which was discussed tonight. So the person who's going to build it has to agree, or he's going to say, Forgione in this case, I'm not going to build it because I'm not going to make enough money off of R15. So do you have a sense that he would accept R10? Is that why that's being proposed, or do you not know that? So could he still reject that?
We have been approached with the higher density, as you know, and I think the only way I can answer your question is to say that by virtue of the fact that we're considering the R10, we're not terribly interested in the higher density. Is the
the homes, the townhomes?
Is the developer able to that as well? I think the township would have to move forward to act on this, and then he would either accept it or not accept it. And if he does not, then the zone stays as we've finally adopted, as an R10A, and that's where we would be.
I think it's a fair way to say that what the governing body has tried to do is make property suitable for a use that's consistent with the township's goals and objectives. But what I think the governing body is trying to do is not listen necessarily to any particular inquiry for the property, but to say what works in the context of good development, and what are the people saying to the respective elected officials, and then try to come up with a zone that would be attractive.
So if we came to a sense as a community that we didn't want higher density, we preferred the lower density, and we said we wanted R15, we left it R15. Forgione could walk away from it, he might.
Or any proposal. These contracts, in my experience, are ultimately tied to approvals, be they planning board or zoning approvals by the township committee. So it's usually contingent upon them having an approval, or yes, they walk away.
Okay, so if they walk away at this moment, there is only one other person who is interested in the property.
Simply put.
And so if you leave it R15, that is eligible for this other use because a church can go in any zone, so that then the person who wants to sell the property, presumably sooner rather than later, could be pushed to doing that. While we are saying we want whatever, R10, R15, whatever the community thinks is desirable. If there were no potential bidders, it'd sit there indefinitely until maybe somebody that we wanted, R15, came along to build. But we don't know that that person is out there. If I'm understanding all of this correctly, we don't know that that person's out there, and yet we know there is another bidder. So if Forgione does not like, or whoever, doesn't like the R10 that you're going to, presumably, you're suggesting.
We would presume, but Barb, the same is true if we adopt the R10A. True in the sense that any institution, religious institution or otherwise institution of that like, can go into the R10A as well.
Correct.
I mean, they're allowed in any zone. That's
Right.
the point. What you're addressing is the fact that what do you have before you, Township Committee? What's on the table?
Right.
The only thing that we can possibly say is on the table is that we know bona fidely that there are two contenders who wish to buy this property.
Right. So you don't have control over what the owner of the property would choose to do if if this other person walks away.
I do not.
I mean, if there wasn't somebody else there, you could say, I don't care if it sits empty for 3 years. I mean, that would be fine, as long as the lawn's mowed. I presume people wouldn't care. But there is somebody out there waiting, and I guess I don't know what ability the town has had to solicit other potential buyers that would do whatever zoning we wanted, or, R15, if that was the least dense.
Well-
So you don't have that ability, or you're not aware of.
You really can't, because it's privately owned property. You
Right.
can only, try to plan accordingly for what would be the best, some of the best alternatives for a particular property under the circumstances. That would make it attractive to striking a balance, what works in a planning concept.
So I guess, just to finish, I guess what I'm hearing you say is that I came here thinking that you were discussing an R15A, cluster homes and condos, and for whatever reason, maybe because you didn't have a consensus of that, or you thought the community wouldn't agree, you're coming forward with another plan, and.
And the community may not agree on this.
Right. But we don't totally control this either, because there is somebody else out there who would like to purchase that property, and there's a seller who would like to sell it. So we don't really know, so.
It sounds logical to us on the committee that at the end of the day, this property has been up for sale, and that they do have interested buyers. So one way or the other, it'll be disposed of through a sale, yeah.
Yeah, and just so everybody's aware, to your question, what the governing body could do tonight is adopt the R15 ordinance or defeat it. But if it were to, and that is with respect to what's been termed as the senior type of housing. But if that's defeated or not acted
I mean, the
upon-
R15A, which would be the
R15A.
senior, right, okay.
But if that's action the governing body could take tonight, defeat that or adopt that. I think there's been indication that there's this alternative. The alternative would have to go back essentially to begin all over again with an ordinance introduction. Notice would be sent to all the residents affected by.
Which is the R10 you're speaking
The
of.
R10A.
Right.
Yes.
R10.
It's not legally possible this evening to take that action. You can start that action this evening, but you can't finish it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Reverend, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Interesting evening, huh?
It is, it's very interesting. My name is Howard Curry. I reside at 120 Park Avenue. And I happen to be one of a small committee that's been tasked with selling the property at 325 Whippany Road. When we decided to close the church and dispose of the property, I'll quickly repeat what I said at the last meeting for those that weren't here. We decided we would like somehow to help or contribute to the life of the town rather than simply make a sale and walk away. We recognized that we could probably sell the property quickly to a religious outfit, and they would pay us money, we'd get the check, we'd deposit it, we'd walk away, they'd have their new church. But my experience as a clergyman has been, in these days, had we done something like that, what you're talking about is having a church facility where people from 45 minutes, an hour away, they'll come and use your property, but they will in effect have nothing to do with your town. And that to me sounded sort of just not, it didn't feel right. I've been in the town now for 11 years. When I first came, we had 7 houses of Christian worship. No other religion was in the town at that point, but we had 7 houses of Christian worship. And all of the clergy would meet together. We'd have these meetings to discuss all sorts of things. It's my opinion that of all these Christian churches, if somebody wants to be a Christian and live in Hanover Township, there are a number of churches to choose from. I'm not sure how much, how poorly the church would be if one of those 7 houses of worship closes. But before I get sidetracked, I've heard all of I'm still in favor of selling to the developer, for the developer to purchase the property. I'm in favor of some form of housing going up on the property. Now, I won't recite the arguments for and against. I've heard them all. I think I know clearly the arguments for and against. But I'm in favor of some form of housing. I would say this, though, to the committee. I'm very thankful for the way that we do stuff in Hanover Township. I'm thankful for the men here listening. I'm thankful for the residents giving their input. I would simply give two pieces of advice. Recognize that people have their own personal interests, and there is this hidden factor that people have of fear. I mean, I'm a religious guy. I know all about fear and what drives people. People could be driven by the unknown. They can be afraid. Be careful about that. We don't want, I would suggest that fear is not a good thing to make a decision on. The second thing is, on this issue of whether to have one form of housing versus another, I think Mr. Forgione is a businessman. He wants to make money. I think that's good. We live in America. It's a capitalistic society. Capitalism is good and healthy. I also think the man has good intentions also. I think the committee has good intentions on what they want for the township. So when you think in terms of deciding what road to go right or left, you maybe are incapable of doing this, but I would lay aside the issue of money and say, what would best suit our town? Would 55 and over be better for us, and would it look better? Would it fit in better, or would this other? And work through that. Avoid being fearful and work through which kind of housing would be helpful if you're willing to go that route. And recognize that at least one person will be praying for you guys. It's not an easy thing to do. Mr. Forgione has his interests at heart, and he wants to do what's good for the community. The board wants to, or the council wants to do. The residents want what's good for the town. But it's not easy to make these sorts of decisions. Avoid being fearful and do what you think's good. And if you happen to be one of those people that don't get your way, well, we don't always get what we want.
Did they write a song by that title?
You can't always get. So really, I'll be praying. I'm sure other people will be praying. And really, I think ultimately, we all ought to try and be positive and hope that things will go well for our township. Whatever road you fellows end up feeling you must go down. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Libby. You can get a copy of that at www.hanover.
Thank you for the prayers. We need them.
Sir.
Good morning.
Good afternoon. Good evening. It might be good morning, but go ahead.
My name is Peter Jurovic. I live at 165 Park Avenue at Whippany. I came to you this evening to present to you a petition and express my thoughts on this zone change. There are over 33 signatures on my petition. I can assure you I didn't misrepresent to anyone as to who I am. I did not try to manipulate information by talking about other users in this zone when we all know that there are only two. I just ask a simple, honest questions, whether people were interested in supporting a 55+ age restricted housing at the site. My thought is that there is a need for 55+ housing in Hanover Township. The 55+ housing on Horse Hill Road looks beautiful, and there are no negatives associated with it. It is a good rateable for our town and does not create additional burden on our school system. Would I like to see other uses there? Of course, thinking like a park with a merry-go-round and free ice cream on Sundays. Wouldn't it be wonderful? But I know we don't have the money to spend on this. Please, Township Committee, think about the neighbors like me who lives on Park Avenue when you make your decision and how it impacts us who live in the vicinity. Please support this zone change to allow for 55+ housing. And I have more than 33 signatures of friends of mine from Hanover Township. I would love to present to you.
Do you want me just to go speak it?
Bill, help Peter.
You got it? Impressive.
Sir. Thank you.
Council? Yeah. On this too, as well, yes. I'm sorry, ma'am, go ahead, go right ahead.
Oh, hi, good evening. My name's Janice Catalano. I live at 304 Whippany Road. It's across from the property we're talking about. Whatever happens, I'll be staring at this every day. I hope you can bear with me while I just kind of check my notes, and I wasn't really prepared to say anything, and hopefully this makes some sense. Did you say there is a specific house of worship that's interested in that property, and do we know anything about it? Or did I misunderstand that?
See, that's something from the township's perspective. We cannot speculate or discuss because it has to do with houses of worship and things of that nature. If at some point the pastor wants to speak to that, he can. But I don't want to make it sound like we don't want to. From a legal perspective, it would be considered that we're, taking a position about a certain faith. So we cannot discuss what it may be. Just that it's,
Okay.
that it would be permitted.
Oh, okay, thank you. Do you know what the lot next to that property is zoned for?
It's also residential.
The one that's currently commercial, rented to some of the landscaping companies and things?
Currently in there, grandfathered in there, but should that be vacated, that's a residential lot. Single-family homes,
It's approved for 5 single-family homes. It went through a Board of Adjustment review.
most recently.
And that's what it's been approved for.
Would that be affected if this particular development turned into this more, congested housing type where that developer might say, hey, I'd like to make more money on my properties as well, and I'd like to cram some more houses in also?
It's already gone through a Board of Adjustment variance case.
So that can't be changed?
But if I may also add, I was asked that very question by members of the Township Committee. How would that impact that development? And after consulting with the Township Engineer, we believe that if, for example, either one of these zone change came forward, it would not give that property owner any additional rights or to say, how about me as well? I think that's what your concern is. The lot size, for starters, is insufficient, so it wouldn't qualify. So we think from that standpoint, that would not be a concern, because I understand your question.
I also understand that that farm stand property is also for sale? Is that correct?
I can't comment. I don't know that to be so.
I don't know if anybody else has heard. I've heard that property is also for sale, and my concern is also that this is going to spread, that there's going to be, these...
It may be, it has not come to us in any official way. There's been no applications before us, so it's difficult for me to say what Mary's intentions are.
Okay, if you could just bear with me for 1 second.
Go ahead.
I guess, my concern is a personal one, because I think the view of that type of development really would look very unattractive. I think it would, I fear that it would directly impact property values. I think that setting or that structure is fine for Windermere because or Horse Hill, because it's not highly visible. This is what you see when you pull into our town, and I moved here about, it's been 20 years now, and I'm sad to see the character of the town seems to be changing a little bit. And I'm concerned that I'll be reminded of that every day across the street from me. The developer did visit my husband, and I wasn't home. He told my husband they were going to be asking over $700,000 a piece for those age-restricted units. And I was like, on what planet? What people over 55 years old are going to spend $700,000 plus for a townhouse on a very highly,
Do you ever hear the expression, build it and they will come? Well.
I'm just not sure people, it's people in that and that.
I can only say that properties in Hanover, God bless it, some properties and new builds in Hanover, 708, 1 million plus.
But are they people on fixed income? Are they people, are they, young professionals?
Many are from within our town. Many are. Many are professionals.
I'm sorry, just bear with me, and I will wrap this up. I guess in summary, I'm just opposed to development. I'm hoping that there is some way that we could avoid development. I live on Whippany Road. Daughter, we use that lot across the street at the church for her bike because we don't have a bike. So I hope there is some way to prevent it from being developed. I don't know if there's any creative options, but I am opposed to development. Thank you.
Thank you. Folks, I really appreciate it if you would not add to the public demonstrations. Thank you, Mr. Mahalko. Bobby, I'm sorry.
Robert Steiger at Cedar Knolls. 6 years ago, when I was president of Senior Citizens Club, I did a survey of over 400 seniors, what they were looking for if they were to sell their home. That was presented to the committee. What you did with it, I don't know. But most did not want to spend over $300,000. They wanted all one floor, a living room, a kitchen, 2 bedrooms, a bath, and a laundry area. That was presented to the committee. If they put in this $600,000, please don't call it senior housing. Don't even hint of senior housing, because no senior in this town is going to sell their house for $400,000 and go and hawk for $100,000 to buy one of these units. The only people that'll benefit from it are the people trying to get the hell out of Essex County. That's who's going to move here. So please, the single family is good, but you say the R10A. Why does the A have to be it? What are we going to get for it? When we got that was R10 cluster. The zone really didn't even exist, but they built it on that. We got a soccer field. What are we going to get for these?
I'm not going to comment on any trade-offs on this, Bob. There's nothing attached to this. We're looking strictly at the size of the property.
Are you calling it R10 cluster?
It's the same square footage and
Right.
lots as Windermere.
Right.
So in the case of that, they clustered it. Here, take away the name cluster, add the A, but it's still the same lot sizes.
Because every area that we've ever clustered, and we've clustered a lot of them, the town always receives something for it. We always got a portion of property.
We clustered for transfer of development rights. We have properties that are off of Malapartis where we got 8 acres on a clustering.
Blackbrook Park.
Thing.
Yeah, every bit. Okay, I was just going to say that
Let me qualify one thing, and I know you and I talk.
Right.
Seniors is this home suitable for seniors? It's suitable physically as a condominium, as a townhouse to buy. If you can afford to buy it, and if this price point is $700,000 and you could do it, as I say, God bless you. Is this what we want for our seniors ultimately? No, not by design.
Of course not.
We have your petition.
Right.
And when we had your petition and we had areas that our seniors could buy in at the $300 price mark.
And they wouldn't buy them. You're 100% right. Thank you.
Okay. But that doesn't mean we walk away from that price point. Maybe it's a little different today. But I think when we look at senior housing, we're looking for a developer that can get the kind of density he needs to bring the economies of scale down so he can build these houses. That's it. If it's a market value house and you don't take grant money, and God, we don't want to take grant money in Hanover, because that definitely invites less Hanover peoples into those projects. We have to find a developer who's got the density, who can buy the lands and build and still make it economically feasible. Having said that, I'm sorry, took your time, sir. Go ahead.
Quite all right. Christopher Lito, 135 Park Avenue. I must have missed both petitions, so I'll ignore that. I've lived in Whippany since 1976. I'm not going to recite history. That doesn't matter. But one of the best things about being in this town has always been the fact that you can go around and you can see, you know, homes that are the same, and you feel a sense of pride, and you feel a sense of one town and being all together. Being on Park Avenue, I know what it's like to try to get out every morning. I see, I see my kids go to the end of the driveway to get on the school bus, and I see cars go past a stop school bus, and there's many times that I wish I had a firearm just to protect my children. But
you don't mean
we're not going to go there. But yeah, we just did though on record. Anyway, so I guess what I'm just trying to say is, being on a very busy corner and growing up in this town and seeing single-family homes and having room to play and having room to walk and having room to run, I feel that making more condos and making more cluster homes and making more, however you want to call it, is a bad idea and doesn't really reflect what this town really is and what the people that are, looking to the town leaders for. I agree that, in my opinion, when you come into Whippany, there are many different ways to come into town. And everyone, for the most part, every one of those ways, you'll see a single-family home. So, again, I appreciate the builder wants to make a buck, and this is America, and you're right, we all should be being able to make money. However, I think you need to look at what the town really is, and the town really is single-family homes. And the town really is single families trying to, do the best they possibly can. And if a builder make as much money making 25 cluster homes as he could, maybe saying, 13 or 14 single-family homes and with a nice street and places that kids can grow up and have a little more room to run, well, maybe this builder isn't the right builder for Hanover Township, and we need to find one that will do what the town, your constituents, are all saying that they want. So, again, I'm against the townhomes, and let's try and make it a smaller sectioned, single-family homes. Thank you.
Anyone else at this time?
Mayor, board, Matt Sleeper. I still live at 39 Perry Street. We're talking a lot, what I'm hearing is a lot about this type of use versus that type of use, which is very similar, density-wise. It's a matter, it's splitting hairs, because the real problem, and I haven't heard a lot of talk about it, is the traffic on Park Avenue and Whippany Road. Before you vote, I want to ask, I want you guys to think about, have there been any traffic studies? No. Has that ever come up? I mean, because let me give you an anecdote. I commuted to Kenilworth for 12 years. So every night I come off of 2A, I think, and I take Columbia Turnpike to Park Avenue. And I'd sit at the bottom of the Fort Hill Road intersection on Park Avenue for half an hour every night. Now, I haven't done that commute in a couple of years. I can only imagine it's worse. So, I mean, there's 100 cars lined up in front of you. I did this for 12 years because I had to. I didn't cut through Fort Hill Road, residential road. And out of respect for those residents, I just waited until my turn came up, 20 minutes, a half an hour later, whenever. So, and this is a constant thing. Now, you want to put more, I guess there's a sale pending and you want to decide what to do with that property. I think it's premature until traffic studies have been done and the impact of those residents and the existing residents is really evaluated. So if there's a third option, to table this and figure out what to do with the traffic situation first, and make that space of land more palatable to potential future residents, that would be the way to go, I think, because you're going to sell them on this bucolic town, and it is, with the good schools and the low taxes, and they're going to move in, and now they can't get in and out of their house during rush hour. Literally, they're going to be trapped until the sun goes down. So, something to think about, and before you vote, I strongly urge you all to think about that, because they're going to regret buying in there unless something can be done. And I don't know what it is, and you have your work cut out for you to figure out if anything can be done. But it is a nightmare as it stands, and it will get worse. Thank you.
Thank you. You're right on the money. Traffic conditions in our town haven't gotten any better, they've gotten worse. It's not just a product of the development that we've got in our town. Issues that you have on Park Avenue, we have seen them, and we know where traffic is coming from. And we know the Madisons, we know the Florent Parks, we know the East Hanovers are all coming up through Hanover. I say this like a broken record. I have been out at the state preaching about this, I've been down at the DOT preaching about this, I've been down at the county preaching about this, because we get all the pass-through traffic that wants to get to the highways. We have the wonderful ability of having 287, 24, connection to 80, etc. And these other towns don't have ramps, on-ramps. So it goes through our secondary and tertiary roads. They're building larger corporations down there. Florent Park's doing a wonderful job of that too, with BASF, etc. It's wonderful. 6,700 employees, I know this by heart, that are coming up from Novartis on Route 10. Don't try and use Route 10 at 3 o'clock, So we are doing in Hanover our earnest to work with the county. They do have traffic studies. The county's recently, this coming week, they're having a seminar on that. They're going to show the results of their new, county's going to expose the results of their new traffic plan within the next week. We've been invited to take a look at it on website, etc. I can tell you this, I hope I'm around to see it happen. We've got to do some more of the immediate things, but that's not what we're here to talk about tonight. But you're on the money.
Potential buyers of this property, developers, to present renderings, drawings of what they envision to do with the property. Perhaps that could allay people's fears. People get an idea of what the layout would be of these townhouses or private homes, etc. That would be very helpful. And it'll be helpful to me to see where these cutoff roads would be, these driveways, etc., and so forth. I do pay every day going to work. My next question maybe is a stupid question. It's an out-of-the-box type question. I don't know. But is there money in our budget here in town? Because I heard Ms. Catalano made a good point about her girl learning to ride her bicycle there. I said, why not purchase the property and turn it into a little park?
You didn't hear my earlier comments.
I was here late, I'm sorry.
Quite all right. Well, I'll give you a recital. We spoke to both Morris Township and in conjunction with our township. We took a look at the value of the property, what it's up for sale for. We took a look at the grants that might be available through the County Open Space Trust Fund. We took a look at the monies that we have in our Open Space Trust Fund. We took a look at the improvements that would have to be made to take the church down, clear up the property, and grade it for a small mini park at 6 acres. And I will tell you the results were not favorable economically for us to go forward on that basis.
I mean, the money is what you're saying.
Well, to go out and purchase a property in the, and I'm going to say with improvements in the neighborhood of anywhere between $5 and $6 billion for us in Hanover is
how much is that?
Quite a bit of debt.
What was the number again? 6 million, you said? I'm sorry, I missed that number. What was that number? You mentioned
both the sale property and the improvement of the property could range anywhere between $5 and $6 million.
Now, is it possible, real quick, because these people are waiting here too. Can user fees, is it legal to have user fees? Look, I want to preserve the nature of this town. I've been here 20 years. And to me, it's worth it. I wouldn't mind. Let's say there's a user fee to do these one-item purchases. Say, I kick in, say, and other families will kick in money too, to bring this money up, I would kick in, say, $200 or $300 a year to help, for a certain period of time. Because it's worth a certain lifestyle in this town, a certain look, a certain appearance. Do you understand what I'm saying?
don't disagree with you.
I'll give something else up to kick in that money.
The idea-
On a personal
the idea-
level, as a user fee, you know what I mean?
Well,
I don't
thank
know.
you.
Is that possible? I mean, is that legal?
I would say no if we take grant money.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else like to be heard at this time? Hey, Michael.
Hi, good evening. I'm Michael Mahalko. Mr. Len? Okay. Michael Mahalko, Nye Avenue. Just 2 points I want to make. One is fear. Like the pastor had said, these decisions shouldn't be made out of fear. I've read snippets of what's going on the social media, and a lot of people are for one thing because they're afraid of something else. Let's not base our decisions on fear. They have gotten blown out of proportions. I saw one picture, and it was hysterical. I think maybe some of you others have seen it too. Let's not base this on fear. A lot of people that I know that are against high-density housing are for this project because of fear. Again, keep that in mind, because what happens very well may not be what you expect. Secondly, I am the benefactor of looking at a 10A every morning. I don't recommend it. It's not pretty. It's still high density. Don't kid yourselves, it's still high density. There are places for high density. This corner is not one of them. It's too congested, it's too difficult. We do have a third option. The third option is to do nothing and leave it at R15. But again, caution with that 10A. It's not 10, it's not Windermere, it's tighter, it's more compact. If you do go that way, please be specific on what you are going to allow.
Thank you
very much.
Robert, how are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm one of the people that are fortunate to have a home in Morris Township and also Hanover Township. I'm at 49 Manga Road in Cedar, Knolls, and I enjoy living in Hanover Township, everything going on there. I've also seen the homes in Trailwood where I live, that we have 4-bedroom homes, and most of them don't have any kids in them now. They've all moved out. I mean, there are some, but not as many as there used to be. And my office happens to be right across the street from where this is going up. I'm right on the corner of Park and Whippany Road, 133 Park Avenue, Morris Township. People still think it's Whippany, but it's actually Morris Township. I have to say that the church there is going to do something now regardless of what you people think. They're going to sell this property, whether it be to another house of worship of some kind. I mean, it's going to happen, and it's going to happen soon. So you're not going to have any control over that necessarily, especially if another house of worship goes in there. Then they're going to have, and I think the property is probably worth $4 million or so between $3 and $5 million. So let's just say whoever pays $4 million for that property is going to find some way to fund it. And so if it's a house of worship, they're going to be people there. There are going to be a lot of people there. Because I think if you pay $4 million, you're going to have to raise money for it. I don't have a problem with putting housing there. I think that the proposal that the Township Committee is floating tonight is an excellent thing. And I have no problem with something nice going in there. And some density housing does not bother me. And I'm also thinking at some point, I did like the 55 and over because I'm getting tired of taking and maintaining a house and say, boy, that'd be a nice place to live because I enjoy living in Hanover Township. And by the way, I can't afford that house if I want to buy it there. So there are people that can't afford that amount for a house. So, as I say, something's going to happen within the next couple of months, and no matter what you decide or what anybody else here says, it's going to get sold.
It's a truism. Folks, be nice.
Hi, good evening. Carol from Chenko,
Hi, Carol.
Malpartis Road in Whippany. I just wanted to say, and I'm going to read this because I'm not real good off the cuff. I appreciate with your effort, the township's efforts, the township committee's efforts for listening to residents, even though the residents don't feel that they are really being heard. I don't doubt for a moment that the township committee would rather this property stay as it is, but the truth is the property is for sale No one can dictate to the seller who they can sell the property to. They will go to the person who's going to give them more money. Developer is interested in the property. In this day and age, single-family homes are not selling. He's interested in buying it at a decent price. He wants to put in a higher density than what we're used to seeing around us. And it requires a zone change. That's the only reason why we're all here tonight. I have no doubt that the Township Committee is trying to take everyone's opinion into consideration, and I thank them for their due diligence in trying to come up with some sort of a solution. I'm not being facetious, or rather I am being facetious when I say that homes are much better than a quick check. So, believe me, I know firsthand. But anyway, I'm not opposed to the higher density homes. I'm not too thrilled about the idea of the condos, but I've driven down Windermere. It's not really that bad. It's a very nice little community there. So I just leave it to you guys. I wouldn't want to be in your position, but I know you're doing your best. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
My name is Sean Parkott. I live at 7 Terry Drive in Morris Township. The back of my house is one of those houses that aren't supposed to butt onto Park Avenue. That's a spurious argument if I ever heard one. There's butts of houses all up and down Park Avenue. I would just like to point out to the committee that when people buy single-family homes in areas that are zoned, there's an anticipation that the zoning is going to remain the same. Any change in the zoning, either to 15A or to 10A, is going to fundamentally change the character of the neighborhood. And that's what we bought, that's what we paid for, that's what we paid taxes on, to maintain that quality of life. I'm opposed to the 15A specifically, and this is the first I've heard of the 10A. I would also be opposed to that. If a developer can't make money by buying that lot and building something in there that fits, he's not going to buy it. Shame on him. Somebody will come along with a plan that can do it, that will fit the character of the neighborhood. Developers have one thing in common. They get what they want, and then they leave. Thank you.
Would you be approved to the alternative that might be sold to the property?
You know, there's a church there now.
Oh, all right, fine.
You know, we put housing in it. Keep it 15.
No, I just asked the question if that was, you know, be acceptable to you. That's fine. I'm sorry, madam.
Joanne Rizzo, Cove Lane Road. I've heard a lot tonight, some of it fact, some of it fiction, some of it opinion.
I hope no fiction, but go ahead.
I think a little bit.
Well.
I admire all of you for taking the time to listen to us, and I thank you. Personally, I am for keeping it in R15, but what struck me the most was that the pastor said that it wasn't about the money, and it was about what's good for the town. So maybe there is a possibility to work with that. He opened the door, that the price could be cut. Maybe instead of looking at, because it's not about the money, it's not about the money. So since it's not, maybe the price could be cut a bit. Maybe
do we have something to talk about here?
Maybe we leave the building on and use it for cultural events or another rec center. There are options besides tearing it down. I would also say we've heard a lot about Monroe Hall and parking and traffic. Monroe Hall has a very small parking lot. And talking about what happens to the church for years, people who've gone to Monroe Hall on nights when nothing is happening at the church, have parked at the church, trotted across Whippany Road, and attended an event at Monroe Hall. We've put money as taxpayers into Monroe Hall. Now we're talking about leaving Monroe Hall with enough parking spaces for 3 people to basically attend an event at Monroe Hall. I mean, we would not be using it to its full capacity because we would then be parking in the neighborhood, which they've already expressed concerns about, taking out the tennis courts, which I don't think anybody would be for, or not having a spot. So I think
So you're
that,
suggesting we acquire it?
I think that if we could.
I want to help you along here, but the
Yes,
hour
no,
is getting such, but.
Definitely, if
yeah.
we can, and again, since there is an opening, maybe there could be some discussion beyond purchasing and pulling down the church, but purchasing and using the property in a way that could benefit our town, Morris Township, and maybe even the county.
Thank you. Reverend, you willing to gift it? Let's give it a shot. That's really nice. I mean, what the heck? That's really good.
Yes. I fear I may disappoint people tonight. We decided to sell. When we decided to sell, we had a sort of ballpark figure of how much we wanted for the property. Then we decided at that point who we would be willing to sell to or who we would like to sell to. And I can't speak for the committee that's tasked with selling the property, but all of my instincts tell me this. We decided we wanted to be nice to the town and go with the township, give them some sort of property where they'd get ratables, they'd get an income, they'd benefit from the sale of the property. So in our minds, we went that route. A developer comes along and he comes up with a plan, he comes to the board, and in our thinking, at least in my thinking, I'm thinking, good. These guys will sort of negotiate with the developer will have to yield, they'll have to yield, they'll come up with some sort of arrangement. My instincts tell me this. If an arrangement is not coming forth, then the ratables are a dead issue. At that point, we'll say, well, we've tried to help the town, the town doesn't seem to be able to come to some sort of arrangement, then at that point, I think it's all over, really.
I think we understand,
Father?
Well, not so much the other offer. We won't, at that point, think the township is sort of on the same page as we are.
May I ask a question, Mayor? Pastor, are you going to be able to give the township some time to, everyone's working hard on this, but does the township have some time to try to come to, that amicable, place that they're looking to
I
do?
think so. I mean, yesterday I got a telephone call from a church, and it sounds like it's a big church. They've got lots of money. So, I mean, to be serious, I don't think we'd have much trouble walking out tonight, going on the market tomorrow, putting the property. I mean, it's a really nice piece of property.
Right. But
Let me finish.
Okay.
So I don't think we'd have a problem doing that. Our position at the minute is we've started down a pathway. We like the idea of you guys figuring out what's possible. We like the idea of Mr. Forgione and his company working with Stan and coming up with something that's nice, and so that if you guys can come up, and I think we're willing to stay the course till you guys figure out what to do.
Thank you.
I mean, yeah, I think we're willing. We'd like you guys to come up with some sort of arrangement.
I'm going to allow a few more moments, and then I'm going to ask the committee to offer a motion on this. But go right ahead, sir.
Pete Kroniak, 17 Crescent Drive. Quick question. Is there any reason that the county hasn't been approached for some open space funds?
We wouldn't make application for open space money until we would have to be the sponsor to go forward to the county for open space money. But we did discuss the likelihood of getting some of that open space money for the purchase, and the size of the property is an issue.
Okay. What about any other outside entities? Some private businesses or anything like that?
Private sector, like benefactors or something?
Yeah.
I don't know that we've considered any, no?
Because we got a really nice big one that just moved into town that might want to help out a little bit.
We could tap on
Says he
Bayer's
decided to
door,
give us
but
all the traffic.
I don't know that Bayer wants to put up about $4 or $5 million for it. So.
You never know unless you ask.
No, you don't, and I'm not suggesting that they wouldn't, but no, we have not applied to them.
Okay. I do write grants for towns. I've done it for 10 years for a township that I work for. Mr. Gallagher has my contact information, so I will put it out there. If there's anything that I can do to move it forward going towards the park, I'm available. All right? Thank you very much.
We in Hanover, all of us Hanoverites here should know that when you go for county open space money, when you go for federal monies and Green Acres monies as we have, there are hooks. Okay, and what do I mean by that? That when you take that money, then you obligate yourself to have the use of that property open to any and every one who is entitled to use it. Doesn't have to be from Hanover. Ball fields that we've had, that we've taken open space Green Acres money with, are open for uses by peoples from other towns, teams from other towns, et cetera. It's all part of it. There are obligations when you take funding in that fashion. So we have always practiced the methodology of owning, of scarbox budgeting, as you know, paying for things as we go and owning it, and that's the way we try to look at this particular piece of property as well. We could always float a trial balloon past the county open space fund. I don't know that process wouldn't take a great deal of time. I don't know that the good Reverend would be tolerant with his purchasers, with his possible purchasers of us taking that kind of time. But having said that, at this point, I am going to ask the committee to close the discussion from the floor. Motion to close? Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, Mr. Administrator, at this time, we have a question of the resolution at hand. Having heard discussions that I have tonight, I am going to offer a recommendation to the Township Committee, if it would take it into consideration, that we defeat this resolution. Second. Is that a second on a motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Motion to defeat.
Gentlemen, do you agree?
Yes.
Yes. All right,
We
we
have a
roll.
motion by Mayor Francioli, seconded by Committeeman Gallagher to defeat ordinance number 3-2015.
So a vote of yes or aye
Yes.
means that you're in favor of defeating the ordinance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, on the motion, again, as Mr. Samaroff said, a yes would defeat. Mr. Gallagher,
Yes.
Mr. Faramasca,
Aye.
Mr. Bruno,
Aye.
Mr. Capola,
Yes.
Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
So defeated unanimously.
Defeated. Gentlemen, discussion?
Not a great deal of time to make a decision on this, given the fact that this is a private entity that owns this property. Township Committee has looked for the past 45 days at probably many of the options that the members of the public have brought up tonight, and I think I applaud them for coming out, expressing their perspective on it. I don't think there is going to be a 100% win solution on anything, which we do. But I look at it from a strategic standpoint in terms of what is, after we assess all the impacts, what is the best option for Hanover Township, and then try to formulate a go-forward plan that would take into account all of the things which we've heard in terms of, if we step back and we look at our master plan, and what does our master plan say? Our master plan says that we want to be a suburban community and maintain a suburban community. Hanover Township took on what's called a socioeconomic study, an impact study, and we want to understand the various impacts of what could happen within the township from various types of zones or various types of changes. We've used that learning from that impact study to help guide us. Most recently, this Township Committee faced a situation where there was a request for a zone change. And that request for zone change was at the South Campus. And at the South Campus, I'm up where Bear is, and now we're on the other side of the campus called the South Campus. We had a developer that wanted to come in and put in high-density rental housing, some 350 rental houses. The Township Committee affirmed the integrity of that zone and kept the zone in place. So they maintained what's called the OBRL zone. So I think we made a very informed, strategic decision to keep that going. So I would submit that at this point, after listening to all the positives, all of the negatives, the situation, and the fact that this is owned by a private entity that is not going to wait until we feel really good about that we vetted it. But I can assure you, we have vetted it to a great deal. I can speak for my colleagues. We've spent the past 45 days, most of our nights, most of our days, discussing this with one another as what's the best thing that we can do for Hanover Township. So I think we learned a lot along the way. And what did we learn? We learned that fundamentally, from a priority standpoint, that there is a feeling that maintaining a suburban environment is a positive one. We've learned a lot that density is a concern. We've learned a lot that traffic is a concern. We recently approved Metropolitan Life, and during that approval for Planning Board, there will be 11 intersections that will be studied and optimized from a parking study. I don't know if the gentleman is here still, but from traffic is a major concern. We're going to do studies internally within the township to try to manage traffic, as well as the mayor is leading a group within Morris County trying to get additional support from adjoining communities and ultimately to bring in businesses to try to solve and address the traffic problem, because the traffic's not going away. How we manage it, though, that's our opportunity going forward. So with all of that said, Mayor, if no other member of the committee has anything they want to say, I'd like to introduce a motion.
Entertain it. I'd just like to say one thing if I could, before you introduce your motion. I just want to say what John said. For the last 45 days, we've been talking quite a bit. I've been talking to many, many people in Hanover Township. And this July is 10 years I've lived in Hanover Township, but I wanted to live here since 1974 when my mom started teaching here. We were always here, we loved it. What we're trying to do and what I'm trying to do is we're discussing right now actively our vision for the future of Hanover Township, because we are at a Y in the road. And the fact that in the last 45 days we spoke and fought and emailed and had a real, it was a tough time. My voicemail on my cell phone was filled many times, and I was getting texts, Gallagher, clean off your voicemail. But to make a long story short, the single family housing, although what we're discussing now is a little tighter than we would like in a perfect world, it's still, in my opinion, a lot more consistent with what attracted many of us to want to be here, what makes our families want to stay here. And hopefully one day have our kids come back. It's the look and feel of the town. And that's what we're working on, and I want you to know we're struggling with it. And I think right now we're in a much better place than we were before tonight. So I just want to say thank you to my committeemen. I talk to these guys more than I talk to my family sometimes, and it's 45 days, it's been about this specific issue. So thanks everybody for all your input. I've talked to many of you, and I'm still always available to you, and we're going to be continuing to work on this.
On that note, do you have a,
Yes, Mayor, strategically, what,
I just want to thank Pastor Curry in particular for coming in and giving some insight as to what's actually going on. I think, we've heard a lot of comments, myself and my fellow committeemen, why don't you just do this? Why don't you just do that? Why don't you, a lot of different things, why don't you just do? The reality is we don't own the property. So while all those suggestions are taken in and they're very good suggestions, we can't mandate it, right? This is not Nazi Germany. The government just can't come in and mandate what the church is going to do with their property. So there's options, and we're working hard, in many instances behind the scenes, given all the facts, to come up with something. And we all have a vested interest to do what's best for Hanover Township. I've lived here 50 plus years. I know a lot of people stand up and mention they're here 10 years, 20 years. I'm here 50 plus years. I plan on staying forever, however long that might be. So I want to do what's best, and this is a very visible piece of property, and we all have a vested interest in doing what's best here for Hanover Township. So once again, thank you, Pastor, for coming in and shedding a little light as to what's going on behind the scenes.
Can you teach me how to keep my hair dark?
If I knew the secret, I would probably be very wealthy.
George.
Yeah, I thank
I'll attribute it to drinking all my milk when I was younger, but other than that, I really don't know. Good genes.
I thank everyone for their comments this evening. It was very well said. we appreciate all that people have to say. As the good doctor said, and as I said to Committeeman Bruno, when all is said and done, he summed it up very nicely in that it is not something we can control. I mean, if it was up to us and we could control it and have a good reverend, not sell the property in a longer period of time, but unfortunately, we don't have that at our disposal. So, we have to move as quickly as possible to support whatever issues that we're dealing with at the time. So I thank you all for the time, thank you for the patience, and thank you for giving us your opinion on how you feel about the entire project. Thank you.
Thank you, George. All right, is there,
Yes,
a motion on the floor? What do you want?
Mayor, I'd like to introduce a motion by title for a new zone called R10A for the area of Block 4701, Lot 29, with the street address of 325 Whippany Road. R10A will support single-family detached dwellings with homes no greater than 4 bedrooms in terms of occupancy and no greater than 4 baths. The thinking behind this is that this is more reflective of the suburban qualities of our community than the prior zone which we rejected, called R15A.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Mr. Faramaska, seconded by Committeeman Capola.
Mr. Giorgio, so technically this would be an ordinance, correct?
This would be docketed as ordinance number 8-2015. And at this time, we will docket it for public hearing on March 26th, 2015. And once the ordinance is ready for publication, it will be publicized and also sent to all the homeowners, property owners within 200 feet, referred to the planning board as required by law. On the motion by Mr. Faramaska, seconded by Mr. Capola. On roll call, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Faramaska.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Aye.
And Mr. Francioli.
Reverend's not going to gift it to us?
I'm still holding out for that too, Raj.
He's not even listening.
Aye.
So introduced, 5-0.
Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to continue on with the balance of the agenda. We'll give everyone a moment if they'd like to leave the meeting.
Just so you know, we have our emergency lighting on. There's no full lighting in the hallway, so please be careful as you leave. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
It's late
hours. Oh, at 11 o'clock now. Yeah. It's after hours.
All right.
Thanks,
I don't want to be.
Thanks.
Okay.
You went where I couldn't go.
Jim, you happy?
Much appreciated.
When I started. You know what?
Perfect solution.
You know what?
There's no silver bullet.
I think it was a good exchange and dialogue. Remember the first meeting you described it as much better now.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate it. I'm happy to tell you too. It's almost necessary. That came up with the board that was financed at 4:30. How are you?
Something in the DNA. It's a motion.
What's up, Judy? Good to see you.
The renderings are gorgeous.
We still got a lot more work to do.
Seniors, that would be one bench. Where's George? Basically one bench.
Gentlemen, we're still in session.
Yes, George.
So I feel like
Thank you.
Good night.
we're going from
Take care.
33 bedrooms.
I'm ladies and gentlemen,
There you go.
George.
Who's with that, John? That's all right.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue with the agenda.
Very good. Very good.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen.
Continue.
We have ordinance number 4-15, new resident and non-resident pool membership fees, the 2015 Bee Meadow pool season. Unfortunately, the Daily Record did not publish the ordinance, so we have to reintroduce with a public hearing date of March the 12th. May we have a motion for reintroduction?
So moved.
Second. Second, on roll call, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Fermaska.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola. Aye. And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
So introduced.
Mr. Torch just lavishing out there, right? He just, you know.
Ordinance number 5-15. We have the proof of publication that ordinance 5-2015, which authorizes a 2% increase in the appropriation limit of the township calendar year 2015 current fund budget, and further establishing a cap base all in accordance with NJSA 40A 4-45-15.14, was published in full in the February 19th issue of the Daily Record. So at this time, may we have a motion to convene the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone present in chambers wishing to be heard concerning ordinance number 5-2015?
That's a 2%, authorizing the 2% increase, but that does not suggest that the township has to use it, let's put it that way.
Correct, and establishes a cap.
It establishes it in case we have to use it.
Anyone wishing to speak on this ordinance? Hearing none, seeing none, may we have a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now on adoption, be it resolved that an ordinance entitled an ordinance of the Township Committee authorizing a 2% increase in the appropriation limit of the Township's calendar year 2015 current fund budget, and further establishing a cap bank, all in accordance with NJSA 40A 4-45-14, be passed on final reading, and that a final notice of the final passage of the ordinance be published in the March 5th issue of the Daily Record in accordance with law. May we now have a motion on adoption?
Motion.
Motion,
Second.
we have second. On roll call, Committeeman Gallagher.
Aye.
Committeeman Fermaska.
Aye.
Committeeman Bruno.
Aye.
Committeeman Capola.
Aye.
And Mayor Francioli.
Aye.
So adopted.
Nose pieces on these things, never, right?
Sign
got that?
all of this. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, next ordinance for public hearing is docketed as ordinance number 6-2015. This ordinance reduces the 2 cent per $100 of assessed valuation, dedicated open space trust fund tax rate to 1/2 cent per $100 of assessed valuation, only during calendar year 2015, and authorizes the township's chief municipal finance officer to collect the 1/2 cent dedicated tax. The ordinance and the notice of introduction appeared in full in the February 19th issue of the Daily Record in accordance with law. At this time, may we have a motion to convene the
So
public
moved.
hearing?
Second.
Motion, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone in chambers wishing to be heard concerning ordinance number 6-2015? Your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, Barbara Ames, 6 Clovelly Road. Just a question on this one. Can you share with us what your rationale was for dropping the assessment on the open space?
Barbara is asking the
Yeah.
rationale for
On
the
the-
reduction.
Yeah, you
in
dropped
the
from
open
2
space
cents
tax.
to a
On the
half.
open space
right?
fund?
Yeah.
The committee, when balancing our budget, I must admit, had to look strongly at this. The additional 2 cents that the township gave us the right to tax you on, we did not want to impose that. That is an additional tax on top of your regular municipal tax.
Right.
By reducing this, and by the way, the 1/2 cent still draws us some $185,000?
$184,000.
$184,000 a year toward our open space. And our balance hovers somewhere right now in the 850 odd, plus or minus $1,000 range. Not too bad, but when you're negotiating with properties, we like to get a lot of it gifted as well. While I was teasing with the Reverend, I really meant it the same. So in any event, I guess the bottom line is that in taking this tax down, we were able to keep our entire tax levy at zero for the
Okay, so was part of what contributed to your zero tax rate?
In fact.
Okay.
In fact.
Thank you. I mean, I really flat tax rate, and as you know, the county is kind of struggling with this right now, and they just voted last night to leave their tax in place, and we've discussed, in fact, had an after-meeting discussion with a couple of them, and their sense is that the demand for open space in the county is going to be dropping, just because we've been doing this for 30 years, and there just isn't that much. And Hanover, you know, this has been a really losing game from the county's perspective. Well, from our perspective as to how much we're down 15 million from.
It's true. It's been a debatable point because our contributions toward the county open space trust fund goes to a bigger pot.
Right, I understand that.
Obviously, when they make big quantum purchases.
But I have to tell you that there are members, there are folks, mayors, coming before them pressing for more open space when they're up $20 million in what they have, and this is not a poor community at all. And they were there last night asking that the open space tax be increased, not kept flat. So I applaud you for, I mean, we all love open space, I'm not going to get into that, but when you get to the state of New Jersey, has 30% of its land protected already. I don't know whether you knew that figure. And then we, on this November ballot, approved $150 million a year of the state going to buy, and then it goes to $200 million in 2019. Forever, no sunset clause. At some point in my lifetime, or maybe my children's, the state of New Jersey is going to own every square that chair you're sitting on, unless they change that. To me, that was insanity, but, so I mean, we all love open space, but when you know, how much is enough? 30%, 40%, 50%? And when people are still leaving New Jersey in droves, and I don't have to tell you because I know you know people who are leaving because they say, I can't afford to be here anymore.
Different communities, in my experience, and talking to other mayors like the Mendhams, the Hardings, et cetera, and I know the towns we're talking about, and we do get together and we do chat informally and we do go over many of them attend economic development committee meetings that I do too on the county level. And I speak from Hanover's standpoint of our rateable base and the shift going over now to 60% commercials versus 40% residentials, which is what we really want to preserve our tax.
Yep.
But you talk to the Hardings and they're going to say, you know what? We're 80% residential.
They want, and they want buying them more.
And we'd love it to be, you know? And that's fine, because that's what that particular municipality wants. That's what the people who live there want, and that's the direction they should go. You know? Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Motion to close.
Have a motion to close. Second. On roll call to close, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Faramasca.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Aye.
Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
Now, be it resolved on adoption that an ordinance of the Township Committee reducing the 2 cents per $100 of assessed valuation dedicated open space trust fund tax rate to 1/2 cent per $100 of assessed valuation during calendar year 2015 only, and further authorizing the Township's Chief Municipal Finance Officer to collect the 1/2 cent dedicated tax, be passed on final reading, and that a notice of the final passage of the ordinance be published in the March 5th issue of the Daily Record in accordance with law. May we have a motion on adoption?
So moved.
Second. Motion second on roll call. Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Faramasca.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Aye.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
So adopted.
Little League time, huh? That field, Veterans Field should be all set, Bob, right, for this year? I mean, as far as the drainage and everything?
Drainage is good.
Everything's good?
If it ever stops snowing, we might play baseball out there.
Yeah, if you'd ever see the grass again.
Boston has those snow melters, maybe we can get one of those.
Okay, ordinance number 7 deals with the agreement for the Hanover Township Little League. This was supposed to be adopted this evening, but unfortunately, the Daily Record did not publish, and it has to be reintroduced this evening. So I would ask for a motion for introduction.
So moved.
Motion second on roll call. Mr. Gallagher?
Aye.
Mr. Faramaska?
Aye.
Mr. Bruno?
Aye.
Mr. Pola?
Aye.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
This ordinance is set for public hearing and final passage at the Township Committee meeting on the 12th of March at 8:30 p.m. here in the Municipal Building. And at that time, any person wishing to be heard will be given an opportunity to comment on the ordinance. And ladies and gentlemen, next portion of business, the consent agenda with resolutions. Are there any questions about any of the resolutions?
Move to be approved.
We have a motion by Mr. Pola,
Second.
second by Mr. Bruno, and roll call, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Faramaska.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Pola.
Aye.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
We have one raffle application, RL 2826, Golconda Prince Hall Shriners Incorporated, for an off-premise raffle.
They're right around those little cars.
May we have a motion
So
for
moved.
approval?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Township Committee, that clears the agenda. The Business Administrator, Township Clerk, and I thank you.
Good job, Mr.
Thank you very much, John.
Thanks, Joe.
Give me those resolutions, you got those?
Yes.
Yeah, give me those. Gentlemen, any other comment from the Township Committee?
Comment will be brief, but good. Hanover is proud to welcome a new neighbor, a new corporate neighbor. Planning just approved the subdivision on the South Campus for Metropolitan Life Insurance. So we're very, very proud and very look forward to them coming to our township. Their plan is to be in early 2016.
Very
That
aggressive.
concludes my remarks.
Mayor, I have a quick one too.
Very aggressive.
Go, okay. This coming Tuesday, March 3rd at 7:30 p.m. at Mount View Road School, the Hanover Township School and Park Traffic Safety Advisory Subcommittee is going to have their second public hearing. We've reported on it throughout the year, but it's a group of police, committeemen, Board of Ed members, and our head crossing guard, retired Deputy Chief Balcar. And our mission is to make the areas in and around our schools safer. And with our public hearing, we're going to demonstrate with a pretty nice PowerPoint what we've done in 2014, what our goals are for 2015, what their specific concerns are, and get their recommendations for improvements. We even put out there that we want to hear their questions, comments, and constructive criticism. It is a hearing. We are there to listen and learn. And the last thing I want to say is, once again, I want to say that we all understand what a tough winter we've had. And the DPW is just doing a fantastic job. A lot of us travel through a lot of towns every day, and it feels great to come into Hanover Township and see blacktop. So last year, Bob reported month after month about the polar vortex. I don't know what to classify this winter as, but I just can't wait until it's over. But doing a great job. And the last thing I want to say, even though the snow looks like it's going to hang around a little while, I would just encourage people to still get out there when they can and make sure their fire hydrants are cleaned off, because God forbid there's an emergency. It'll just make it a lot easier for the men to find the fire hydrant and access it to put their equipment up to it. So that's it, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
The applications for Bee Meadow Pool membership, if we can start thinking about some warm weather things and talking about warm weather things, maybe it'll get warm? I don't know, how does that work? Yeah, well, ice skating, I guess, is a little bit more realistic. But anyway, Bee Meadow Pool, which will now be featuring a new diving board, a new playground area. Want to encourage everybody, if you haven't joined in past years, or you haven't joined recently, please inquire at the rec center. A lot of good stuff going on at Bee Meadow Pool. And then, as Mr. Neidhart mentioned, the lineup is set for the summer concerts, July 6, 13, 20, and 27. Hope to see everybody out there.
And Bob, there's a special concert also in August,
And then
Four Seasons.
A bonus concert, is correct, and that did not make it into the resolutions.
No, that's
So,
kind of separate.
I guess it's on a separate one. Okay, so they are funded by private donors, and we encourage everybody to come out to the concerts. We'll have more information on that as we go. Thank you very much.
Yeah, for the benefit of time, Landmark Commission and the Veterans Alliance have programmed Veterans Alliance with their memorial services and Landmark with work they're doing with the Berry Yard. I will present it at our next meeting. But I would like to add that for that meeting next Tuesday on the school safety zone, if anybody has the opportunity to attend, please do so. And I personally want to thank the entire committee for their support. You will see what we've accomplished this past year, which could not have happened had the committee not supported us in this whole process. So I thank you all very much. You get a chance, stop down. You will be very surprised at all the safety aspects of this program that have been implemented.
Thank you, George. Okay. Once again, I'm going to open the floor. Gentlemen?
So
motion
moved.
Open, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, once again, the floor is open. Anyone who'd like to address the Township Committee can do so from the podium. With your name and address for the record, Bill.
William Ames, 6 Cove Lane Road, Whippany. I have 5 minutes? Good. I just want to thank the Public Affairs Works people again. I was in Delaware last weekend in that snow, literally. I traveled about 40 miles. There was not a single plow to be seen, not one. The snow went to 6, 7, 8 inches, not a plow anywhere, no pre-salting, nothing. So just to all the gentlemen, you know, with all of the discussion we had about how to rearrange the members of the Public Works crew and all that stuff, I just think that the whole effort at the articulated arm truck and all of the rearrangements of people have been fantastic. Great job. Thanks.
Thank you, Bill. You know,
Jim Neidhart, 3414 Appleton Way, Whippany, New Jersey. I'll make it real quick. Probably doesn't need to be said since it's said 3 times, but I'll say it again. The DPW is doing a great job. I mean, everybody on the board can say that. It always sounds nice when you give compliments, but Super Bowl Sunday, I was at a Super Bowl party way up in northern Denville, and game was great, and it ended, and the weather got really, really bad for those last couple hours, and I came home pretty late. And going through town by town by town to get to back to home, it was treacherous. And I came on Malapartis off of 202? Yeah, Malapartis. As soon as I entered Hanover, I knew I was home. The roads were fantastic. And that's just one example. I mean, wherever you're coming from, you know when you're in Hanover Township during bad weather. So just another thank you.
Thanks, Sharon.
Brian's doing a great job, and I think some of that is attributable to the fact that we've redeployed manpower. And we've got the third truck, the third one-arm truck, really loves it. And because of that, we've been able to now redeploy 2/3 of the sanitation guys on the truck into doing everything from leaves to the plowing to salting, etc. All we need to do is keep up with salt, to keep getting it here. That's it. Barbara, how you doing?
I also think mixing the salt with that other mixture allows whatever they do put down to do a much better job. Once you mentioned that, I noticed the difference, how much longer it lasted, so you don't have to keep coming back and do it over and over. Really makes a difference.
We've got a good base down there, and it's working out fine.
Barbara Ames, Hanover Township. Well, you guys need to go home and get some sleep. I just want to say thank you. I just want to repeat a little bit what I said to the mayor after the meeting. I was proud to be a member of this community sitting here tonight. I came here tonight not exactly knowing, where we were going to go and kind of anticipating an adversarial conversation perhaps, given the circumstances coming into it. I was proud to be a member of this community living here today. And lots of communities don't see that. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We know your best. And that's all we can expect of you. And we appreciate the time away from your families and the sacrifice that you do for us. We really do appreciate it. And not all public officials, we know, don't live up to that. And I thought the pastor's words were, don't make this decision in fear, were wise. And I know what you did on the MetLife property, and you stuck to your principles. Man, not enough people in America do that anymore. We all know that. And if we could replace you guys and have be at other levels of government. Can we take a few of you to Washington? Oh, boy. So I just want to say thank you. And, you know, we don't know how this will turn out ultimately, but I think this was such a positive discussion among the community. We sat here like a family and discussed it. We didn't necessarily all agree, but we listened to each other respectfully. Nobody was angry, nobody was hateful, nobody was calling names. And, you know, I know you will take it and do the best that you can with it. And we trust you.
Thank you. Very, very sincere, very sincere. Thank you for that, you know.
Mayor?
It was, George, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd just like to add a point. You know, throughout all of this, even with this bad weather, I really thank the public safety people. You know, our police, fire, emergency, you heard tonight the issue that they have with acquiring volunteers. You know, these folks are out in all this inclement weather. They're, you know, and it's like, if you need them, they're there. When you don't need them, you don't even think about it. So, you know, I from the bottom of my heart, I thank these guys. I know what they're going through, been there, done it. I thank the chief, I thank his men, I thank the Chief Cartwright, Chief Davidson, Bob O'Hare, Deputy Chief for EMS. Without these folks, you know, we never think about it until the time comes that we call 911. God bless these folks that are out throughout all kinds of weather, really doing a service to all the residents of Hanover Township. Thank you.
Amen.
Second motion.
Absolutely, George, thanks.
You got it. Well said, George.
Judy, you're doing a good job with my Hanover.
Thank you very much.
I wanted to tell you personally, because
Thank
you know I monitor it. You have been
Yeah,
trying to be,
I-
you've been
very-
trying to be unemotional, very factual, very direct, and solicit opinion, and I personally want to tell you I appreciate it.
Thank you, and it's a site where I do want solutions. I don't want complaints. I don't want hysteria. I want actual solutions. Debate is okay, but it has to be considerate of one another. But what about those police? They're there when you need them. They solve the major on the scene. So I'd like to give out some kudos to our police department, who are, like I said, who are there when you need them. So thank you.
They did a phenomenal job. What a message they sent out this week with that Econo Lodge issue. You know, the press release is out officially, Chief, right? So I can probably comment now without fear that the prosecutor's office is going to feel that they've been one-upped. But it did a super job. Roddy, Lockie, et cetera, in the New York, was it Brooklyn, when these guys were there? We have our issues. I've been reading on Facebook, I'm watching on Facebook, everybody wants Econo Lodge the hell out of here. Us too. And, you know, but once again, here we get into this private sector area. And we'd love nothing better than to package that property along with two others, get one major developer to come in and say, hey, I've got a project for this, you know, on Route 10, and just get rid of that. Can we do anything? We've got 19 families in there that are county welfare families. Are they deserving of housing? Yes. You know, but with it come certain issues, and our police department have not been squawking, but let me tell you something, the preponderance of issues that we've got in our town are coming out of the Econo Lodge. And we've got to bring this more into the focus with our county freeholders. You know, we addressed it once. I think we sent letters to the freeholders and addressed our concerns to Mr. Bonani, et cetera, but it doesn't look like it's helping us that much. But good job, Chief. Very
Ron,
good.
I'd like to just say one more thing, because we have Chief Gallagher here. Chief, you know what the School and Park Traffic Safety Advisory Committee, and you and I have joked, people call me all the time when somebody's speeding and they're going nuts, and the chief will laugh and say, tell them to call us, tell them to call us. But let me tell you, from being at Salem Drive School every day and having my son at Whippany Park every day, I get so many compliments on the police presence at and around our schools, and it makes people feel a lot safer, because that's where our kids are, and that's our heart and soul. So thanks, Chief. I appreciate all of it, everything you guys do.
Very good. Okay, this time, I'm going to motion to close.
So moved.
Seconded, okay.
Motion
By
to
the way,
adjourn.
don't you guys go anywhere, I got more.
Motion to adjourn.
I got more meeting, we've got more meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Yep. Okay.
All right.
We've got more to go. More to go.
Great job.